Health Organization, Mr. Yoon Sung-woo, Director General, International Union of Air Pollution Prevention and Environmental Protection Associations, Ms. Ayonjargal Lamjau, Head of Weather Forecast Division, National Agency for Meteorology and Environment Monitoring, Mongolia. And last but not least, Mr. Bayirbot Danga, Director General, Public Health Department of Ministry of Health, Mongolia. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome also from my side to this session 4 of the High-Level Forum on Clean Air. And this session focuses on collaboration on air quality, data, and standards. And yesterday we had a very rich exchange already, which highlighted the importance of data to inform policy decisions and how standards underpin and form part of the range of legal instruments available to address air pollution. And the decision for a regional action program is an amazing step into the direction of regional cooperation. And unlike other topics, we don't have an international legal framework on air quality, but last year the General Assembly recognized a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment a human right. And I think this is a real game changer, and it's worthwhile noting here as well. We heard from LURTAP how effective their regional legal framework is. So very much looking forward what we can do here together going forward as well. And we heard about approaches to monitoring and data gathering. Of course, we also heard about the World Health Organization's air quality standards. They were mentioned by many. And they do provide a scientific and authoritative starting point for establishing and improving national air quality standards. And now it will be really important to see how we can domesticate them by adapting them to national circumstances. Now, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the mere fact that we have come here together to exchange is proof of the power of cooperation. So the if, I think, is established. And this discussion will look at the modalities of cooperation on air quality data and standards and what opportunities we have for data sharing, to exchange on standard setting and implementation, which partnerships and processes we can build on. And we will hear quite a bit of that. But let me first unpack cooperation, as there are different angles to it. And I think it's interesting to keep that in mind. Given that air pollution knows no borders, cooperation between countries is important to be effective. So protect yourself and protect your neighbors is a bit the heading for that. And collective action to address this transboundary issue starts with sharing of data. And data is not available at the same level everywhere, and filling these gaps will be important. And UNEP, for example, has been using innovative technologies to help address this data gap on information through UNEP's Global Environment Monitoring Systems for Air, or called GEMS Air in short. And some countries have more stringent standards than others. Regional cooperation on standards may actually help drive markets regionally, particularly if the market itself in a country may not be big enough, then the regional cooperation can actually really help drive that and make sure that it's reckoned also by all the other players in the system, and I'm particularly thinking private sector. My second point is I want to look at the cause and effect, and monitoring air quality and source apportionment means we look at key emitting sectors, and we also look at the health impacts. So we need the health data. But not only some of the air pollutants contribute to global warming and some impact plant growth, so we'll be looking at a wider spectrum of data points. But the data is gathered in silos for those different purposes, but they will be relevant for air quality action. So how can we actually connect the dots here as well? And I think it's essential to be able to make air pollution a matter of several members at the cabinet table. So it's not only one, the Minister of Environment taking that forward, for example. And if we say sectors, we should also say actually value chains. And at the CCAC, we've been working on guidelines for private sector to include air pollution into their inventories and actually into their GHG inventory, so connecting climate and clean air again. And that has been done with, in cooperation with SEI, with IKEA, and with the World Economic Forum. So it's being really rolled out. So I think private sector, again, to hold that thought and across the value chains. And last but not least, engaging communities. A number of measures are done with technology fixes. Some will require systemic changes, and others will depend on behavioral change. And what is the best trigger for that? Nothing more powerful than having citizens, communities see, and why not also collect data, and thereby make them agents of change. So now the regional and sub-regional initiatives are already leading the way to facilitate access to open data and to share information on the pollutants, their sources, but also the good practices on the implementation, and the policies in the areas of technology, financing, but looking also at the business models, public and political awareness and engagement. So I think this is the broad spectrum on which we need this cooperation. We have a really distinguished panel to help us find answers to how technical cooperation at the regional and sub-regional level could strengthen air quality data and standards, and also which technical focus this cooperation should take. And since we're all here to cooperate, let's see what practices and expertise the country organization that our panelists represent could provide for supporting technical cooperation. So in the session description, the establishment of expert working groups is already mentioned, so I think we have a bit of an idea what we want to like to get to in this, and this can be done or can be one avenue forward, making use of the different platforms and efforts that exist already. We don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, but really connect the dots. And with that, I'd like to ask Matthew Perkins, the Economic Affairs Officer at UNESCAP, to tell us more about the project he manages to help operationalize the Asia-Pacific Regional Action Program on Air Pollution. And that's the Project for Air Quality Data and Standards. And Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thanks. Thanks very much for that, Martina. Could we get the slides up? Thanks very much. Could we have the slides on the projection, please? So while the visuals are coming up, I'd like to briefly summarize what ESCAP is doing to take the political commitments and comments that we've heard forward into tangible action. Over the next 2 years, we're going to be engaging in this project to support the development of actions on air quality data and standards, as I'll outline briefly for you here today. Next slide. As Martina mentioned, in December of 22, our member countries came together and adopted the Regional Action Program for Air Pollution, which contained a number of key pillars that the countries identified wanting to catalyze their cooperation towards. For these activities, we will be taking those commitments and bringing them forward into tangible results. Next. So I'd like to walk through briefly what the high-level activities and implementation of these initiatives will be. We will be starting with an inception stage in which a regional study will be produced by ESCAP on the recommendations towards mainstreaming the use of innovative data and mechanisms. Those will be, findings will be underpinned by 2 regional training workshops to assist the civil society, ministries, stakeholders in adopting and analyzing these recommendations. Next. So as we go from this inception, we expect to be catalyzing the work of 2 specific working groups under this canopy. These are the working groups on air quality standards and the working group on data. These will be the prioritized areas under the Regional Action Program for this project. This is where the real work is going to get done in the operationalization, and we hope to continue to have the strong support and participation of the countries here in this room and in the broader ESCAP community to come together on the key questions of how to standardize air quality measurements amongst and between the countries, and as was said yesterday, in moving to more of an airshed perspective on these critical issues. Next. So when we talk about the working group coordination, I'd like to drill into this a little bit so that everyone can have an understanding and an expectation of what those next 2 years of activities are going to look like. We could get the next slide on that. So there's going to be a lot happening under these. We're expecting to hold 4 virtual meetings of these working groups, 2 meetings per working group per year. So we'll be essentially convening these working groups every 4 to 6 months for the next 2 years to take this agenda forward and identify those tangible actions. Those are going to then lead into joint regional workshops with some of our other key stakeholding bodies, ASEAN Haze Agreement and so forth, and the outcomes will then be brought forward in a policy brief for the member countries to operationalize at the local and regional levels through their intergovernmental processes. Next. Once we go through those 2 years of activities, we expect to have a summative capstone event at the end to promote the knowledge management and sustainability aspects of this so that the first 2 years of work in getting these cooperation on data and air quality management can really be cemented and then move into the next phase of this action program as we move forward throughout the agenda. We do expect to be quite involved with NEACAP and ASEAN in moving that forward. Next. Just wanted to give a quick visual as I close up this summary to show how this is going to look in a sort of timeline series. Please mark your calendars for these. We hope to have everyone's active participation in these events, both physically and virtually, specifically around the technical working groups, so we can have those tangible outcomes and really make an impact on these. Next slide. So with that being said, this comes to the conclusion of my summary of what the path forward is going to be for operationalizing these activities. I would like to briefly express some appreciation to our partners in this, to EANET, UNEP, and others, and briefly as well for the support for the Republic of Korea, which has provided the financial resources to move this along. So thank you very much, and we look forward to having all of your participation in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, for a very concise and clear overview of what the plan is, and I'm sure that we'll see active collaboration. And maybe with that, we get started with the panel itself, and maybe starting with Mr. Ali Hakim, Director, Asia Pacific Center for Environmental Health, WHO. And the WHO guidelines have been mentioned throughout the event. There are North Star that will guide us in our activities. And how can we harness the health data? I would be really curious to see how we can harness the health data to spur action, which ways for cooperation you see. How can cooperation help to domesticate the guidelines? We heard about the standardization of measurement and monitoring, but how do we go about the domestication of the guidelines? And I don't want to lock you in. If you have any other points, obviously feel free. Yep.
Thank you very much, Martina, and good morning, Your Excellencies, delegates, and colleagues. I've got a few slides, and over the next 5 or so minutes, I think I'll be emphasizing the work that WHO has been doing that you all know about. Thank you. I'm a public health doctor, and I work with WHO based in Seoul in Korea with the WHO Specialized Regional Office looking at environment and impact on health. And I acknowledge the support of the Republic of Korea government through the Ministry of Environment and the Seoul Metropolitan Government supporting our work in this area. And I mention this because immediately when you hear WHO, you think health. What does it really have to do with environment, and what does it have to do with climate? But I think testament was borne by all the various conversations we've had over the last 24, 36 hours on the impact of poor air quality on human health. So the center that I work with is very much focused on how do we work with member states to design policies and interventions that will reduce the impact of poor air quality on population health, synthesize knowledge that is available, and also to be at people's shoulder to support them in implementing all of those actions to achieve the air quality global standards. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that WHO's work in this area is a long-standing one. In 2015, with the resolution at the 68th World Health Assembly, it was pretty clear in all the discussions that the impact of poor air quality on long-standing health conditions like heart disease and respiratory ill health and child development is a terribly important one. So it goes without saying that if we are going to be monitoring air quality, we have to monitor the data that goes with that. So Martina, a very good point about how do we link those data out of their silos to actually stimulate action. That point is being reinforced in the slide here about the SDGs. There's several of them that are impacted by poor air quality, and WHO is the custodian for three key ones that I've highlighted on that slide, 7, 11, and 3. And therefore, the work that we will be doing, and we are doing, and we would want to work with other UN agencies and partners on, would be to accelerate the way in which we can use data to make very implementable decisions on how to reduce air quality, poor air quality amongst member states. So, stopping at the air quality global standards we've had so many times in the last few days, I just wanted to point to the interim targets, because I know that the stringent challenge that we have with achieving the ultimate goal is on top of people's minds. However, the interim targets 1, 2, and 3, and 4 eventually are a very good stepping stone to, how do we get to where we need to get to. And for me, any work we do on data quality monitoring, on air quality and actions that we take has got to look at the pace at which we are achieving those interim targets. And WHO would be willing and able to support member states who are looking to establish networks to do this. So with that, I think I'll just finish with some 3 key areas in which WHO can support the work that you'll be doing, and also specifically the work that we'll be able to do in the region. Looking at the issues of monitoring and reporting particularly, air quality monitoring networks are being established all over the region. Matthew just talked about the work that UNESCAP will be doing. But I think for me, there's a key element that WHO brings to this, which is to link the air quality data to the impact on health, so that when we build those monitoring networks, we actually don't start with a disintegrated view of the data. We actually take it all the way through to what does this mean at the distal outcomes for health and well-being. So that's one area in which WHO can support the work in the region. Also producing periodic regional reports on the impact of air quality on human health, and also looking at the estimation of the contribution of the health system, the healthcare sector, on greenhouse gas emissions, so that we can work towards reducing the carbon footprint of the health sector itself. Capacity development in terms of monitoring data, collecting data, analyzing it will be another key area, and looking specifically at, as what I've just said, how do we follow the trend towards achieving the interim targets and then the ultimate goal. Linking the predictive data, the modeling estimates, and also the real-time data we are collecting on air quality to health action, particularly early warning system for vulnerable groups. identifying where they are, who they are, and therefore how can we advise them to take action preemptively and preventively to reduce the impact of poor air quality on health. Of course, working with researchers and academia to engage healthcare workers who have been trained on understanding how they can support action on reducing poor air quality across the region. And lastly, looking at policy development work. And here I really want to emphasize the importance of using data to really realign the national health adaptation plans that are being produced by member states. WHO can support this work at your shoulder, so to speak. Second, really, Martina, I think you've just mentioned about working with communities and non-state actors. This is an area where I think we can add a lot of value, and we shouldn't miss the opportunity to bring the data we are collecting on air quality and actions for individuals and families to take to look at risk communication, health messaging, and therefore behavioral change where it can impact on people's health, but also exposure to poor air quality. I know people, particularly in Mongolia, would ask, okay, what shall we do as individuals to reduce the impact of poor air quality on our health? And lastly, looking at research on health impact benefit analysis, as well as policy choices that we're making. How do we use this to influence the decision that policymakers make at the highest level in order to legislate and to actually legally bind actions to reducing poor air quality. So I'll stop there, and hopefully we'll get a chance to have more discussion. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I think it was very, very good to remind us of those interim milestones so that it doesn't look like a daunting task from the start, but the steps that have been foreseen to gradually walk that path. And I think that's good. And this emphasis, and I really want to make sure that we hold that thought, this emphasis on getting data out of silos and make sure that we cooperate across those different, well, the different professions as well, because then we're more powerful. And because in the end it's all about impact, well, on the one side reducing the impact on people and reducing the impact on the environment. And it's not one without the other. It really has to go together. So I think this is great, and I hope indeed we can go back to some of the points that you raised so forcefully. Thank you. Maybe then let me introduce or give the floor to Mr. Yang Sanwoo. He's the Director General, International Union of Air Pollution Prevention and Environmental Protection Associations, UAPA. The explicit goal of your organization is to help develop and promote solutions, and it's in the business of so you're in the business of cooperation already, as you're bringing together voluntary associations and public bodies to share information and experience to develop more effective policies. And we look forward to your insights now on cooperation and where we need to put the focus.
Thank you, Martina. It looks like it's a new day and a new mode of communication. Everybody's just presenting while sitting on the sofa, so I'll do the same. I'd like to thank the organizers, UNESCAP, for this wonderful meeting. I'd like to thank the people in the government of Mongolia. One thing I was really impressed by the Mongolian government and the presenters and experts here is that you can feel the energy of the government of Mongolia, how much they want to move forward, how much they want to improve. And I think it's just a great time to be able to be here and try to help not only Mongolia, but all the countries in this region. Like Martina said, my name is Yang Sanwoo. I'm a professor of environmental engineering in Konkuk University, a private university in Seoul, Korea. But I'm here as the Director General of IUAPA, the International Union of Air Pollution Prevention and Environmental Protection Associations. IUAPA is a gathering of national academic societies representing air pollution studies or atmospheric science studies. And we have been in existence for over 40, 50 years. For several decades, the Secretariat was in the UK, in London. And just a few years ago, we moved it to Korea, to Seoul, and I was appointed the Director General. And it seems very appropriate because most of the air pollution problems, not all, but most of it has been solved in Europe, while in Asia it's still a very significant problem. And the center of IUAPA moving to Seoul, I think, was also very appropriate. The session, like Martina mentioned, is on collaboration of air quality data and standards. There was a lot of talk about collaboration yesterday. Session 1 had some wonderful talks about collaboration. The speaker from the Philippines and ADB, and they had wonderful presentations. I was sort of wondering if there would be anything left for me to say because everybody else was saying a lot of wonderful things. But again, I think I've come up with a few things that I can add, so please bear with me. Okay, since I am from Korea, I'm going to add just a little bit. I know there were a lot of speakers from Korea yesterday also. So some things that won't be duplicated. If you look at the left-hand map, you see the number of observation stations in Korea. We're probably about 1/10 the size of Mongolia, and we have about over 900 stations. You can see that the stations are mostly located where the people, the heavy density of population is. Northwestern area of Seoul, which is the northwestern area of Korea, which is the Seoul metropolitan area, and then the industrial area in the southeastern part. But if you look at the lower left-hand corner, the data retrieval, even in a country like ours, the percentage is very low. We have maintenance problems, we have connection problems. Some, for whatever reason, the data is not within the normal range, and so it gets thrown out. So helping other countries with these observations is obviously very important. But the data quality is very important. And I want to stress the fact that it's one thing to try to help other countries and educate other countries, but the data quality, maintaining the quality of data will be also very important. As far as standards go, obviously the standards keep getting stronger. WHO is leading the way with the guidelines. But the definition of standards is also different in each country. Like the United States, for example, you have standards where SIP calls, if a certain state doesn't meet the standard, then you have penalties. Well, in Korea, we don't. So we have standards, but it's not really a standard that is enforced per se. Our PM 2.5 standard is pretty strong. Our ozone standard is stronger than the United States, but we've never met the standard in the last 30 years. So the definition of a standard, how it can apply to a developing country, when we're trying to help set standards for other countries, what kind of standard mode are we going to take is also going to be very important. International cooperation, I'm going to give you an example of what we did in the past to try to show you what kind of problems we can bump up against. This was a project that we finished in my university in 2019. It was a project to help a certain city in Russia, in Siberia part of Russia. The city was called Novokuznetsk. It's a very steel generating city like Pittsburgh in the United States or Pohang in Korea. It's very dirty. I mean, it says a basic plan for air quality management. I think the only thing we really needed to do was put on the air pollution control equipment because it was just black. The air was all black and everything. But we still went through the process of plans. And first of all, we have to, if you look at step 1, you have to look at the local regulations and the national regulations. When you try to help other countries, you can't just go in and barge in and say this is how we do it because every country is going to be different. The local regulations, the national regulations, of course you can try to change that. It's going to take a lot of time. So you have to work within that framework and see what can be done in the urgent side, working within the regulations. And the second one I think is very important, local visits. I don't know how many countries we're trying to help here, but there's a lot of countries, a lot of cities that we're trying to help. I know UNESCAP has a lot of resources and manpower, but it might not be enough. Okay. But unless you go there and really see what's going on, it's not going to be, you can't do it on the desk just with your computer. And then we have the plans and the proposals. Okay, so some details. You know the phrase, the devil is in the details. For the people who don't understand that, I'm just saying that details are going to be very important. Okay, if you look at the left-hand upper corner, obviously the number of the observation sites in Novokuznetsk was very minimal. Okay? But you see certain areas that were completely neglected. And it wasn't just because of the population density. It's because of other administrative and maybe political reasons. On the left-hand side, you see a region that was neglected. On the right-hand side, you see a region that, through modeling studies, we saw a lot of deposition to that area, but there was no observation station. And then the most stark fact was that on the north side, where the emitters were, okay, where the factories were, there was no observation stations. And we heard later on that the head of the company, of the steel manufacturing company, was a very close friend of Vladimir Putin's. So basically, that has politically had something to do with it. The left-hand lower side, okay, again, talking about data quality. They had only a minimal number of observation sites, but they didn't follow proper protocols in locating the sites. It was in the middle of an apartment complex in like the wooded areas where you couldn't really get the proper data. So even with the data, observation data that they had, the person from ADB yesterday talked about some of the faults of that. I mean, how accurate, how reliable is the data going to be? The upper right-hand side, hardware. Obviously, very old, archaic equipment that they were using. If you supply them with new equipment, how is the comparisons going to be between the two different types of data? Is the calibration really going to work out? What about trend analyses for several years? That kind of problem. Okay. So again, the details are going to be very important. The lower right-hand side, how to communicate your data to the public. I've always stressed the importance of communication. And the public has to be involved in this kind of work. And again, the websites that people can use, the signs, the electronic signs of what the pollution is at that certain region. When the people of Russia visited, Novokuznetsk visited Korea, they were very interested in that small picture in the lower right-hand corner is Namsan Tower. It's a tower on the highest mountain point of Seoul where about 3/4 of the population can actually watch. And it has a color coding depending on the PM 2.5 pollution level. So for good to ordinary, bad to real bad, very bad, you have a red color. So most of the population in Seoul can realize, okay, air pollution is really bad. Of course, you have forecasts and other things. Okay, so to wrap up, international cooperation, global cooperation. Obviously, ESCAP is doing a good job with RAPAP. But again, I want to stress the fact, we heard so many talks about things that were going on yesterday. Okay, ADB, UNEP, CCAC, all these other wonderful organizations and other research work that is being done. It needs to be incorporated. I mean, there is not enough funding for just one organization to do all this. And also, we heard from John Salter yesterday that he made an offer for us to join, ClearTap and FightCap. Dr. Sangmin Nam and myself will join John in 2 weeks in Sweden, in Saltsjöbaden, on a conference including FightCap on international cooperation. ClearTap has been in existence for over 40 years. Over 40 years. We're trying to start out now, but they have a lot to offer. We have to start incorporating what they can offer. Okay, and like I said, all these things, I mean, I'm so thankful that UN ClearTap is organizing RAPAP. But it might be even better if you can organize or coordinate all these other things that were going on, okay, in this region. Only a UN organization can do that. So I'm suggesting, really strongly suggesting, that not only do you work on your own project of RAPAP, but trying to coordinate all these other projects and use what they have to offer to try to help with the things in this region. And then educate the educators. Okay. You cannot do it all alone. I mean, RAPAP, you're going to invite all these people. I don't think you can do it all alone. There's too many cities, too many countries that need to help. Help the neighbors, help the neighboring countries. My new friend Rob Wing mentioned yesterday, if your neighboring country gets cleaner, your countries get cleaner. So do it for selfish regions or do it for the global good. I mean, but try to help the countries, the neighboring countries, help the countries that are have the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Very vibrant plaidoirie for cooperation. Thank you very much. And all that by getting into some of the details as well and reminding us how important it is to not fall into, well, generalizations, but really to keep in mind the local context as well. Let us look at more local context now. We're in our host country, in Mongolia, and we have Ms. Oyunjarjal Lamyev, Head of Weather Forecast Division from the National Agency for Meteorology and Environment Monitoring of Mongolia. And we heard about the importance of forecasting as part of preparedness, and I'm sure you'll tell us a bit more about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin Ota. Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and all participants. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity in this meaningful forum. First of all, I would like to mention about our national standard. Could you show up my presentation, please? In 2016, we have revised our national ambient air quality standard based on the WHO guideline. It includes 7 most common pollutants plus lead and benzopyrene. It includes the permissible levels in short term and long term. It's used nationwide. Okay, let's move to next. I would like to give a short information about our air quality monitoring network here in Mongolia. It started in 1970, and firstly in Ulaanbaatar, and expanded throughout the country. Where is my presentation? In ΝյուБ, we have 18 automatic air quality monitoring stations. They measure the 6 common pollutants. And because of this is automatic, the data directly come to the National Data Center, and it converts it to air quality index, which includes the human health impact. And we have 25 more stations in rural areas like province centers and some settlement areas. Those are the manual. Because of this manual operation, it measures just only 2 pollutants like NO2 and SO2. And it uses the spectrophotometer method and uses some chemical in analyzing process. This chemical includes some mercury compound. You know the Minamata Convention is banned to use mercury and mercury compound. That's why we have urgent need to replace this technology. Because of the manual operation, the data come to the public after 2 to 18 hours later. That's the manual operation, and also we have some additional measurement in 4 provinces like Darkhang, Eedийн, Zaukhang, Khuskul. We measure PM10. And in Bayonghongor, we measure PM 2.5 automatically. We also measure 2.5 using low-cost sensors in 33 sites throughout the country. It's been funded by UNICEF. Moreover, there are many other collaborations took place for strengthening high quality monitoring network in Mongolia, namely EANET, Government of France, ÜBRI Cleaner Project, ADB, etc. We have very fruitful cooperation with the KMA, CMA, JMA on the yellow dust monitoring. We also would like to express our appreciation to JICA for the capacity development project for air quality control in Ulaanbaatar city. Under this project, we have been done a lot, including the emission. Sorry. Those are the data flow. Under this project, The project has been done a lot, including the emission source inventory and its methodology and evaluation model and so on. Also, I would like to express our appreciation to Korea for their great effort for satellite-based environmental monitoring. Thanks to James, countries in this region would be able to not only track air pollution and transboundary pollution, but also we would be able to know the concentration of the pollution. Thank you for this advancement. Under the Koika-Pakapi James project, we operate in 2 ground validation measurement sites. If they wish to increase the number, we are happy to cooperate on that. We are also expecting to get not only NO and SO products from James, we also wanted to get the PM10 and PM2.5 and so on from the James. Also, we need some capacity building needs in here. As I mentioned before, although high quality monitoring stations in UP are automatic, but 25 stations in rural areas are manual. As I mentioned before, it uses some chemical, includes the mercury compounds. So we have urgent need to replace this technology. The next reason why we want this, the population and pollution in the rural areas also increasing day by day. The next thing we want to mention is our hydrometeorological environmental observation network is very reliable and stable. So therefore, based on our network, we could initiate new project and program for regional benefit like EANET and APMM and so on. We have an interest to establish air pollution superstation in our 4 regions in Mongolia in future. The data sharing of network should be beneficial for the region. That's all what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to stay in Mongolia, and we have Mr. Bayarbolt Danga, the Director General, Public Health Department, Ministry of Health. So we hear the 2 sides of the same coin, 2 country perspectives, and it's a sign of cooperation already, I think, as well. And I think you all have to get ready to put your earphones on because we'll...
За та бүхэнд агаарын бохирдлын эсрэг аз Номхон талаан дээд түвшний чуулга уулзалтанд хүрэлцэн ирсэн эрхэм мөндөд зорч та бүхэндээ энэ өдрийн мэндийг хүргье. Ингээд миний слайдыг тавих. За дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагын мэдээлснээр дэлхийн хэмжээнд 12.6 сая хүн насарж байна. Үүнээс 23% нь хүрээлэн буй орчны бохирдолтой холбоотой байна гэдэг ийм статистикийг гаргасан байгаа. Энэхүү слайдад энэ агаарын бохирдлын хүний эрүүл мэндэд үзүүлэх нөлөөллийг харуулсан бөгөөд агаарын бохирдлын зөвхөн амьсгалын замын өвчин, зүрх судасны өвчин, мэдрэлийн тогтолцоо, хорт хавдар зэрэг маш олон ийм өвчнийг үүсгэх эрсдэл болдгоо гэдгийг би бас энэ дээрээс та бүхэнд хэлхийг хүссэн юм аа. Тэгэхээр бохирдлын бүх үзүүлэлт маань өөрөө хүний эрүүл мэндэд сөргөөр нөлөөлдгөө гэдгийг бид бас анхаарах хэрэгтэй байгаа. За Монгол улсын хувьд өвчлөлийн тэргүүлэх шалтгаанд амьсгалын тогтолцооны өвчин, хоол боловсруулах тогтолцооны өвчин, шээс бэлгийн тогтолцооны эмгэг, зүрх судас, гэмтэл, осол, орлого, гадны шалтгаанд эмгэгүүд эхний 5 байранд бол орж байгаа бол нас баралтын тэргүүлэх шалтгаан дээр зүрх судасны тогтолцооны өвчлөл бол нэмэгдэж байна. За манай улсад бол энэ агаарын бохирдол эрүүл мэндэд хэрхэн нөлөөлж байгаа чиглэлээр 50 гаруй судалгааны ажлууд хийгдсэн байдаг. За энэ чиглэлээр би бас та бүхэнд өнөөдөр зарим судалгааны дүнгээс танилцуулъя гэж бодсон байгаа. За 2021 оны энэ амьсгал зүрх судасны тогтолцооны өвчлөл, нас баралт, өвчний дарамтад гадаад орчны агаарын бохирдлын үзүүлэх нөлөөлөх судалгаа хийсэн байгаа. За энэ судалгааны үр дүнгээр уушгины хатгалгаа өвчний 18%, за уушгины архагт бөглөрт өвчний 1329%, зүрхний ишмит өвчний 3145%, За тархины судасны өвчний 30-100-ны 98% нь бол нөлөөлж байгааг бол тогтоосон байгаа. За мөн эрүүл мэндийн салбарын судлаачид агаарын бохирдол нь хүүхдийн бие бялдрын өсөлт, амьсгал зүрх судасны тогтолцооны өвчлөл, дархлын тогтолцоо, хавдар үүсгэд нөлөөлж буй хүчин зүйл болж байгааг бол тогтоож үүнийг бууруулах, сэргийлэх чиглэлээр санал зөвлөмж боловсруулан холбогдох төвшний шийдвэр гаргагч нарт бол танилцуулж дэмжлэг хүсэж ажиллаж байгаа. За энэ слайдн дээр би энэ Оксфордын бодлогын судалгааны хүрээлэнгийн эрдэмтэд манай орны судлаачдтай хамтран 2017 онд агаарын бохирдол хүүхдийн эрүүл мэнд болон эдийн засагт эрхэн нөлөөлж байгааг бол судалгааг хийсэн байгаа. За тус судалгаагаар энэ агаарын бохирдлоос шалтгаалсан өвчний улмаас 0-18 насны хүүхдийг эмчлэхэд 2016 онд 10.4 тэрбум төгрөг зарцуулж байсан. За хэрв агаарын бохирдлыг бууруулах арга хэмжээг эрчимтэй хэрэгжүүлэхгүй бол 2025 он гэхэд мөнгөн дүн 24.8 тэрбум төгрөг болж энэ 16 онтой харьцуулахад 2.3 дахин нэмэгдэх ийм хандлагатай байгааг бол энэ судалгаагаар тогтоосон байгаа. За агаарын бохирдлыг нэмэгдэх болон бууруулахад хүний эрүүл мэндэд гарах өөрчлөлтүүдийг судлаачдын хийсэн үр дүнгээр харуулхад за агаарын бохирдол ер нь нэмэгдэхэд тухайлбал Улаанбаатар хотын агаар дахь PM2.5-ийн хэмжээ нэг нэгжээр нэмэгдэхэд 0-5 насны хүүхдийн томуу уушигны хатгалаа өвчний улмаас эмнэлэг твтэх эмчлүүлэх тоо бол 15-аар бол нэмэгдэнэ гэсэн ийм тооцооллыг гаргаж ирсэн болвол энэ агаарын бохирдлыг бууруулснаар тухайлбал Улаанбаатар хотын агаарын бохирдлыг үүсгэж байгаа PM2.5-ийн концентрацийг 100 микрограмм метр кубээр бууруулахад амьсгалын замын өвчний шалтгаанаар нас барах тохиолдол 11-ээр зүрх судасны өвчний шалтгаанаар нас барах тохиолдол 5-аар тус буур хандлага байна гэдгийг бол тогтоосон байгаа. За мөн PM2.5-ийн агуулмжийг 200 микрограмм метр кубээр бууруулахад хүйтний улиралд амьсгал зүрх судасны шалтгаанд нас баралтын бол 28%-аар бууруулах боломжтой ийм судалгааг гаргасан байгааг бас та бүхэнд би бас дурдмаар байна. Тэгэхээр өнөөдөр эрүүл мэндэд энэ агаарын бохирдол ямар их нөлөөтэй нийгмийн эрүүл мэндийн хамгийн тулгымдсан асуудал болж байна гэдгийг бол энэ судалгаанууд харуулж байгаа. За би нэг дараагийн бас нэг судалгааг бас та бүхэнд хэлэх нь зүйтэй байх гэж бодож байна. Судлаач инх жаргал нарын бол судалгаагаар ургийн өсөлтөнд агаарын бохирдлын үзүүлэх нөлөөг тогтоох угаар судалгаа хийсэн байдаг. Агаар цэвэршүүлэх хэрэгэлсэн хугацаанд төрсөн одоо өрөө тасалгаанд агаар цэвэрлэгч тавих ийм интервенцийг хийгээд үзэхэд эмэгтэйчүүдээс төрсөн тухайн ийм өрөөнд ажиллаж амьдарч байсан эмэгтэйчүүдээс төрсөн яранжин 84 граммаар их, урт нь 0.4 см-аар илүү хөвгт төрсөн гэсэн ийм судалгааг бас мөн хийсэн байгаа. За гадаад орчны агарыг бохирдуулагч одоо EANET 2-ын төвшинг 2017 оны дунджаас 50%-аар бууруулж чадвал 2027 онд 19 хүртэлх насны хүүхдийн шинээр илэрх бактери өвчин 2.7 болж буурна. Хэрвээ ямар нэгэн арга хэмжээ авахгүй үргэлжилсээр байх тохиолдолд 2017 онд 100 мянган хүн амд 6.6 бүртгэж байсан бактери өвчин 2027 онд 16.7 болж өсөн шинээр бүртгэгдэх маталтай байгааг бол тус бид бол тогтоосон байгаа. За Дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагаас 2021 онд агаарын чанарын стандартаа шинжилэн агаар бохирдуулагчдын үзүүлэлтийг бууруулсан. Энэхүү одоо хүснэгтэнд Монгол Улсын агаарын чанарын стандарт Дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагаас 2005 оны стандарт за мөн 2021 онд шинжлэгдсэн стандартыг бол харьцуулж харуулсан байна. За агаар дахь бохирдуулагч бодисууд хүний эрүүл мэндэд сөрөг нөлөө үзүүлэхгүй байх төвшин дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагаас олон улсын эрдэмтэд хамтран судалж тогтоосныг манай дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагын бас энэ оролцож байгаа төлөөлөгч маань хэлсэн байгаа. Тэгэхээр манай Монгол улсын стандарт дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагын 2005 он болон 2021 оны стандартад заасан үзүүлэлтээс бохирдуулагч бодисууд өндөр хэмжээгээр стандартчлагдсан байгаа. Тухайлбал хүний эрүүл мэндэд хамгийн хортой PM 2.5-ын тоосон цэрийн өдрийн дундаж үзүүлэлтийг манай улсад 50 микрограмм гэж тогтоосон бол 2005 онд дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллага 25, за 21 оны шинжилсэн стандартаараа бүр 15 микрограмм болгож бууруулсан байгаа. За одоохон миний илтгэл мэдээлэл бол дуусгаж байна. Тэгэхээр би бас энэ дээрх үзүүлэлтүүдээр мэдээллүүдээсээ юу гэж хэлэх гээд байна гэхлээр хүний эрүүл мэнд агаарын бохирдлын улмаас хүний эрүүл мэнд хохирж байна. Эрүүл мэндийн салбар олон байгууллагын орчны салбар бас яг энэ агаарын бохирдлын хохирогч болж байна. Тийм учраас олон салбарын оролцоо бол энд маш чухал байна. Нийгмийн эрүүл мэндийн чиглэлд дэд үтц, уул уурхай, зам тээвэр, барилга, боловсрол, эрчим хүч, байгаль орчны салбаруудын хамтын ажиллагаа маш чухал байна гэдгийг бас энэ слайдаараа дамжуулж хэлэх гэсэн юм аа. За эцэст нь хэлэхэд агаарын бохирдлыг бууруулахаас агаарын чанарыг сайжруулах чиглэлд цэвэр төлс Монгол улсын агаарын чанарын стандартыг дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагын агаарын чанарын шинжлэгдсэн удирдамжтай уялдуулан бид Монгол улсын хувьд шинжлэх шаардлага байна. Дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллага хэлж байгаагаар үе шаттай нэвтрүүлээ гэж хэлж байна. Гэхдээ эрүүл мэнд бол энэ үе шатыг хүлээхгүй аль болохоор өндөр стандартыг тавих шаардлага байна гэж үзэж байгаа. За хоёрдугаар орчны бохирдуулсны төлбөрөөс тодорхой хувийг эрүүл мэндийг дэмжих санд бол төвлөрүүлж иргэдийн эрүүл мэндийн боловсролыг дээшлүүлэх, хувь хүн гэр бүл хамт олонны идэвхтэй оролцоог дэмжих, иргэдийг орчны бохирдолд өртгөөс хамгаалахад бол зарцуулах хэрэгтэй байна. За мөн бид дотоод орчныхаа стандартыг олон улсын стандарттайгаа нийлцүүлэх шаардлагатай. За Монгол улсын хувьд энэ эрүүл мэндийн нөлөөллийг үнэлэхэд зайлшгүй шаардлагатай PM 2.5-ыг хэмжих чадварыг улсын хэмжээндээ бол зайлшруулах шаардлагатай. За хамгийн сүүлд хэлэхэд орчны эрүүл мэндийн тандалтын тогтолцоог бол бэхжүүлэх зайлшгүй шаардлага байна гэдгийг би хэлмээр байна. За бүгд найрамдах Солонгос улсын элтгэгчийн тавьсан энэ хамгийн өндөр цамхаг дээр бас энэ гэрэлтүүлж агаарынхаа бохирдлын төвшин иргэдтэй мэдээлдэг энэ туршлага манай улсын хувьд ч гэсэн нэвтрүүлж болохоор бас сайн туршлага байна. Энгийн бөгөөд сайн туршлага байна гэж харлаа. Ингээ та бүхэнд анхаарал хандуулсан баярлалаа.
Thank you very much. And I think it's amazing to see what communication can do. And you just pointed out the way we frame the issue makes a whole lot of a difference. So yes, we point to the pollution problem, but actually what we would like is the outcome, which is cleaner air, but also more healthy people. And by pointing it back to the sources, how we address it, I really think that was very, very well done. And I'm afraid we've run out of time, but thank you very much. I think your contributions were absolutely stellar. Thank you. I would have loved coming back to a bit more what the health community can actually do with that as well in terms of the communication, because the statistical departments have invented the idea of premature death, which helps us with comparability and so on. But it doesn't talk to anybody in the end, right? Sorry. But maybe there is a real role as well, how we unpack that, and you've done that very well for us today, showing all the impacts on human health on this, and I think there's a lesson in that as well. So thank you very much. I think there's a lot of food for thought already for the working groups. I will do a summary afterwards, but thank you. We have 3 more speakers who would like to do an intervention. And I don't know whether they have presentations. Well, that I do know, they have presentations, but whether they can come up like this. And I've released you from the panel, so thank you so much. It was a real pleasure. Thank you for having shared your insights. Thank you.
Just to mention,
Sure. Okay. So while we're getting ready, could I ask Fatima Haifa, Environment Analyst, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Technology, to join us here? No? Okay. Do you have a presentation as well? Yes. No? Then please take a seat. And we have, we have John. She authorized me to actually stick to something that's easier for me to pronounce. So John Narkapatis, okay. I had it beforehand, but here we go. Associate Director, Environment and Climate Change Initiative, 360 Asia Pacific Regional Office. And we have Mr. Tapai Tsutsumi, Director, International Cooperation Office, Ministry of Environment of Japan as well. But maybe we start with Fatima Haifa for a reaction to what you've heard.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. So, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for providing this opportunity to share our experiences here. So, as we have all been talking about, air pollution remains a huge health concern as well as an environmental problem. So, as for the Maldives, you may have heard that Maldives is famous for the natural greenery, the clean environment, and the pollution-free air. Well, fortunately, this is true, still true to about 90% of our islands. But in the capital city, Male, the air quality is on the decline as the increase in population in the city. Due to migration. So now the capital of Maldives is considered as one of the world's smallest but the densely populated areas with surprisingly increased amounts of vehicles, therefore a lot of emissions. So sorry. Because of these issues, we are also facing a lot of problems from the government side. We have been working on since 2019, we developed the National Action Plan on Air Pollutants, and since then we have been working on taking measures to control air pollution. Just give me a minute, sorry.
They have a nasty habit of getting into silent mode or sleepy mode.
Sorry. So according to the global data on air quality and health, WHO global health data, the annual level of PM 2.5 in exposure level in Male region is relatively high. And there are two main sources we have identified as being local sources and the long-range transboundary pollution. So of this PM 2.5, 70% of this is from the transboundary pollution. So as you may have predicted, this is now affecting other islands other than the Malé city. So, to address these issues, we are following the National Action Plan we have developed in 2019, following it as a guide. And since then, we have been taking measures in improving the public transport and replacing the vehicles with electric models and developing national standards on fuel quality and vehicle and vessel emissions. So replacing the engine vehicles and switching to a more sustainable source sounds like something which is quite impossible, but we do actually have an island which is which we call as the eco-friendly island, and in that we have like the government has banned engine vehicles, and the residents they use pedal-driven vehicles in the island. So I believe this is a start for our country in moving forward with reducing air pollution. And currently we are undertaking a project which is working towards mitigating greenhouse gas emissions and improving air quality through integrated, sustainable and low-emission transport systems. And in addition to this, the government of Maldives has initiated the designing of establishing a air quality monitoring network within the Maldives. So, under that program, so far we have installed 9 low-cost air quality monitoring sensors in 9 different atolls. And other than this, we have also finalized and we are actually on the final phase of establishing the continuous ambient air quality monitoring stations, which was donated by the WHO to Maldives. And our initial aim is to cover the whole Malé area prior to extending it to the atolls. So we have carried out the preliminary steps in procuring more the stations from the UNDP's Climate Promise project, and also the project I just mentioned about the sustainable low-emission transport. So, however, it's really challenging in the area of development of human resources and also the technical expertise level, which is actually very necessary for the better management of air quality. We do require more coordinated effort in terms of policy formulation and implementations as well. And before I conclude, let me emphasize on the importance of the global economy working together in addressing the issues as this transcends national boundaries. So taking the necessary actions now would be the best measure to reduce air pollution. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that was amazing to hear on the one side what has been done, some of the challenges, and I think it's challenges that we all share, and again a vibrant sort of call for cooperation. I noted, across the sectors as well, the cooperation, how important that is, but also what you said in terms of the islands and the cooperation. So specific. We talk about regional, but there's also a sub-regional component to this, so I think that's really good. So we hold that thought as well, so thank you. We then have, I think we move to Japan now, with Mr. Teppei Tsutsumi, Director, International Cooperation Office, Ministry of Environment. I think that's a virtual contribution. While we're waiting for this to come online.
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you. We don't see you yet.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to express our appreciation to Minister of Environment and Tourism Mongolia, EANET and UNEP for hosting this high-level forum. In Japan, photochemical oxidant, of which main content is ozone, is one of our big challenges, and we are working to introduce, review, and improve our environmental quality standards of photochemical oxidant. Let me brief a bit of background and the current activities. The achievement rate of environmental quality standards for photochemical oxidant is still extremely low, almost zero. Besides, ozone is a short-lived climate pollutants, and high concentration of ozone also affects plant growth and photosynthesis. So Ministry of Environment Japan developed a working plan for accelerating photochemical oxidant control last year. One of the key actions of the working plan is to conduct studies to introduce, review, and improve of environmental quality standards. We are organizing the scientific research to review and improve the environmental quality standards for human health effects, and to study environmental quality standards for plant effects as well. In this regard, Japan is interested in the working group on air quality standards and its activities. And we think we can contribute to the working group by sharing our experiences and knowledge. We will consider to join the working group when we have the detailed information of the working group. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yes, there's an applause that I don't want to cut short. Thank you, and I think it's very appreciated that your intervention already comes with we're signing up to one of the working groups, so I think that's very welcome, and we hope that there's vibrant participation as we go forward. So thank you for that, and John, yes, if you'd like to go to the lectern, that's perfectly fine, and we're waiting for your presentation to come up.
Hello. Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nutpanit Nakmitak-Sorjom. I'm the Associate Director of the Environment and Climate Change Initiative, FHI 360, Asia Pacific Regional Office. FHI 360 is an international NGO. We've been around for about 50 years already, addressing various development challenges around the world. But you might recognize us more in the public health sector. But nowadays, one of our key priority areas is also addressing climate and health nexus, including air pollution issues. So as we have heard throughout the discussion in this forum, more actors and stakeholders across different sectors are working together more closely to realize the transformative potential of clean air. Today, I will talk about employing citizen science or participatory approach to address air pollution. Yeah, thank you. At FHI 360, we conceptualize citizen science as an approach to enhance citizens' role at influencing public discourse, policy making, implementation, and enforcement related to air pollution, prevention, and mitigation. Citizen science offers important opportunities to develop collaborative policy solutions that reduce environmental health burden and deepen public awareness of the impact of environmental issues. Yet, according to the implementers of the citizen science approach, the collection and public sharing of monitoring data alone was insufficient to spur outcomes. To fill this gap, according to the World Resources Institute, we need to employ 6 pathways if we are to effectively target sources of air pollution and achieve outcomes. Number 1, raising community awareness on the environmental health impacts of personal exposure. 2, activating communities' interest in collecting more data about the sources of air pollution. 3, creating opportunities or forum for engagement with policymakers about community concerns. 4, spurring pollution reduction or health protection regulatory enforcement action around specific sources. 5, improving modeling inputs and discovering important potential hyperlocal emission sources. And last but not least, changing behavior of the citizens and community members actively engaged in the initiatives. Evertrise 360 is currently implementing USAID Clean Air project supported by USAID that works to address air pollution issues in the Kathmandu Valley in Nepal. And for this presentation, I will use examples in Nepal on how citizen science initiatives have been conducted to address the issues. These are some of the previous citizen science for clean air initiatives in the country. Since at least the 1990s, recognizing the poor air quality in Nepal, citizens have been involved in monitoring air quality in Kathmandu. A local NGO called ENFO designed and set up high-volume air samplers in the city, and they also work with the government of Nepal in establishing and operating air quality monitoring stations in Kathmandu Valley. And in 2018, another local NGO, Clean Up Nepal, organized a workshop to build knowledge in identifying research gaps and scaling up the use of low-cost air quality sensors. Under the Clean Air project in Nepal, we have used citizen science to enhance our impact. We aim to sensitize and capacitate citizens to be able to help generate evidence for communication and advocacy for addressing air pollution. One approach that we are using in collaboration with the Kathmandu metropolitan city is a sensory walk. This activity aims to engage citizens to connect with their surrounding through their 5 senses: touch, sight, hearing, taste, and smell. Through this activity, the project has garnered qualitative evidence for 2 pollution reduction strategies. Number 1, promoting and advocating for walking instead of driving. And 2, creating more people-friendly urban spaces in culturally significant areas in Kathmandu. The project also harnesses citizen participation in using low-cost portable air sensors and pollution monitors to collect air pollution data. We customize and utilize an existing citizen reporting app for effective reporting of air pollution-related incidences. We also organize workshops where communities and scientists can share ideas and resources to collectively address these critical problems. Since we're in the initial stage of the project implementation, we would be happy to report out additional outputs and outcomes of these citizen science initiatives in future convenings. Though beneficial, citizen science does have challenges and limitations. These include concerns over data quality and sensor management, sustainability and long-term funding, and uncertainty over how to incorporate citizen science outcomes into regulatory air pollution control policies and practices. Despite the limitation of the citizen science approach, it is important to recognize that it offers an integrated ways of engaging all parts of society in gaining a deeper understanding of the air pollution issue, especially at the local and community levels. Through different modalities, as you could see here in this graphic, the approach also helps build informed citizens who can better conduct evidence-based communications and advocacy for more inclusive and effective policy framework. And to conclude, at FHI 360, we are advocating for continued dialogue and multi-level collaboration on air quality management. We encourage follow-on conferences and meetings of this high-level forum to explore and discuss modalities to systematically integrate participatory approaches such as citizen science into decision-making processes to all key actors in society can collectively identify ways to advance public interests and enhance both public and private sector accountability in addressing air pollution issues in this region. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. And it has come up already a couple of times how important it is to engage the communities, and thank you for having explained that so clearly. But the different angles, the different aspects to that. So thank you. And I understand we have now Mrs. Azam Sadat Mustafavi, expert of climate change and Assistant Director General of the National Air and Climate Change Department of the Environment in Iran, wanted to make an intervention. No. Okay. I had two further interventions, so apologies. Okay. Okay, well, then I think we're good. The two other interventions have backed out. I hope not of the working groups, but with that, I think we've done a big tour on the topic. It's been pretty clear that there is a need to look more into the data situation to help standardize measurement and monitoring. There have been numerous experiences out there that can be shared much further. We've heard some of the difficulties as well, from the equipment to who to engage. It's also which pollutants are being measured, so I think that's pretty interesting as well to look at that. So more standardization of measurement, monitoring, and to get to an airshed perspective, keeping in mind that we talk about a transboundary topic. It's really important to keep in mind the movements as well. The second... Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay. Okay, I just hear we have one of the speakers back online, so why don't you give us the video then? Thank you.
Hello, good morning. In the name of God, most compassionate, most merciful. My name is Azam Sadat Mustafavi. I'm an expert of climate change and Assistant of Director General of National Air and Climate Change of Department of Environment. Distinguished heads of state and government. At the outset, I wish to express our appreciation to the government and people of Mongolia for hosting on Asia-Pacific Regional Action Program for Air Pollution so efficiently. I should also thank the SCAP Secretariat for organizing this important conference and various meetings and negotiations. Today, environmental challenges are transboundary and require bilateral and multilateral cooperation of countries. One of these serious challenges is the issue of dust and storm, which is one of the most important and challenging environmental issues that we face in the country and in the region, and has a great impact on clean air. The emerging phenomenon of the dust is a crisis that has countless consequences on health, hygiene, economy, transportation, energy, and other personal and social dimensions. Therefore, air pollution and dust crisis are a serious threat to the region, Asia Pacific, and the world. Considering the geographical location of Iran in the arid and semi-arid orbit, increasing vegetation, developing forests, and urban green space is one of the most important solutions to prevent and control dust crisis. Therefore, Islamic Republic of Iran plans to plant 1 billion saplings in the areas of dust hotspot, which is the common border between Iran and Iraq. So far, a part of it has been done and the rest is on the government's agenda. It's worth mentioning that this action requires financial and technical support to be effective in controlling the dust phenomenon in the region as a long-term solution. The government of Iran demonstrates its comprehensive effort to have implemented comprehensive and diverse measures to control air pollution in big cities. One of the most important measures is the approval and implementation of the Clean Air Law. The Clean Air Law is the most basic upstream document in the field of air quality management, which was approved by the Islamic Council in August 2016 at the suggestion of the Department of Environment. The Clean Air Law and its 13 executive regulations include more than 170 duties in the area of responsibility of 21 executive bodies, independent organization and affiliation organization. In addition to various executive and supervisory duties in Article 2 of this law, the DOE is required to monitor the proper implementation of the state law, and it sends an annual report of its action and all institutions related to the state law to the government. Also, the government of Iran has included education and public education awareness reading about the clean air and other environmental issues in the textbook of the students. Iranian media and non-governmental organizations also pay a lot of attention to this issue and are working on it. Also, municipalities and transportation systems play a role in waste disposal and management and try to control pollution sources as best as possible. Therefore, the government of Iran has made many efforts in this field, but unfortunately, due to the unfair sanctions that have led to the lack of access to advanced technologies and international financial resources, it has faced a fundamental problem in its complete and successful implementation. Regional and international cooperation is a good solution to solve part of the problem. We suggest that developed countries with developing countries that are involved in the transboundary environmental crisis, the most important of which is dust and air pollution, and exchange experiences. Also, among the other policies announced by the Iranian government is the reduction of energy consumption and the emphasis on increasing the use of renewable energies. Government of Islamic Republic of Iran has made arrangements to impose a green tax or tax exemption for national and legal persons, industrial owners, and other private and government institutions in order to encourage the use of renewable energy. In conclusion, I have to mention again the issue of the dust. As you know, the last year resolution to deal with dust storm was approved by the UN General Assembly with 173 positive votes. Therefore, one of the achievements of this resolution, which is mentioned to paragraph 8, is that acceptance of holding a conference in this field. Probably this conference will be held in July 2023 in Iran, which will be held in cooperation with UN agency. I am happy to invite all of you to attend this meeting. Dear colleagues, at the end, Islamic Republic of Iran would like to use this opportunity to reiterate the need for regional cooperation, exchange of information and experiences, transfer knowledge and technologies, financial support from international sources, and the formation of permanent institution to increase cooperation between countries in the region in order to solve existing crises, including emphasize dust and air pollution and introduce its way for greater convenience and the friendship of all of nations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Mustafavi, for your contribution, and I think your messages have been very well received and heard loud and clear in terms of the cooperation, call for cooperation, but also the importance of, for example, the issue of sand and dust. We have come to the end of the session. I have exactly 2 minutes to wrap up, which is mission impossible, but I started talking about what came out of the session regarding standards, with regard to the data, the standardization of measurements, monitoring, and looking at the airshed, which is a critical component of taking us to a more regional approach to this as well. We heard quite a bit about the importance of standard setting. We have obviously the WHO guidelines that provide us with a lot in this regard already, with the goal at the end, with milestones for us to guide us to get there. I think it was very interesting to see the experience from different countries on this, and pointing out the importance of enforcement as well. So it's not only setting the standard, but also having the means to enforce, and looking here at the different cooperation arrangements as well. And something that we haven't heard much, but I think it's important to mention in this context as well, is the vertical policy integration between the national and the local governments, because it's such a local issue as well at the same time. I think it was very, very clear that we need to get data out of silos. We heard that, and that's the air quality, so the medium sort of data. It's the health data, which makes such a vibrant case for all of us to take action, and also the data, how it connects back to the key sectors. Because without taking the action on the key sectors to address the pollution in the first place, we will not be getting there. And there is something in terms of how it cycles back to the communication, how we talk about this. And I thought we had something really nice that came out here. Not only how we formulate things and that we take it in a positive, action-oriented way, so from pointing to the problem, to making it relevant to us, to motivate action, and pointing to the action points. I think that was pretty vibrant. We saw some visualization as well, how to bring the message to the communities, very much so. How to pull in other communicators, influencers for us, including the health community. I think that was really good. And really overall the issue of getting communities involved from really all levels, the citizen science, with the monitoring, with all that this entails in terms of the data, well, as we were saying, the accuracy and so on, but it's pretty powerful, but also to inform about exposure and to really get people involved in the solutions, in the behavioral changes, because in the end, there are technology fixes, but some of it will also have to come with behavioral change. So I think we have done a big tour. The working groups that are being set up will have a big task. We have a few action items already. There is a lot of material that we can draw on already, and we had even a few sign-ups already who would like to be part of that. And I think I would leave everybody with that. Please sign up to these working groups, engage very actively, be part of it, come with all your experience, with all the tools that you have, and we see how we can build this further together. And I think that's the final word. Thank you so much, and I think I hand back over to the MC. Thank you. And an applause for all our fantastic speakers.
Thank you so much for the session 4. Before we continue into the session 5, let me quickly remind you about the transportation arrangement to the airport. The transportation, if you ordered it to the airport, will be ready at the lobby of your hotel in 4 hours prior of your flight time. So the next session is Partnership for Wrap-Up Implementation, which is the Asia-Pacific Regional Action Program on Air Pollution. This session will discuss partnership among the relevant mechanisms and networks, taking into account identified activities from the previous sessions. And the moderator for this session is Mr. Sangmin Nam, Environment and Development Division Director, EASCAP. Let me invite the panelists, Mr. MD Masumur Rahman, Director General, South Asia Cooperative Environment Program. Please welcome Mr. Rambot Basanjau, Head of the EASCAP Sub-Regional Office for East and Northeast Asia, Mr. Lin Sok Chang, Senior Researcher, Environmental Satellite Center at NEAR, Ms. Tsirundodam Shagdarsuran, Director General of Climate Change Policy and Planning Department at Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Mongolia. Mr. Chang Kyung Song, Professor at Graduate School of Carbon Neutrality, UNIST. Please welcome Mr. Patrick Booker, Planning Officer at GIZ.
Thank you. This is the last session, so I hope you stay with us and to identify partnership to implement the regional action program. During our discussion yesterday and today, we have identified various existing programs, also recommendation for new activities from countries and organizations. The regional action program, consisting of 5 areas, it identifies 33 activities. But those activities, when it comes to capacity building or knowledge sharing, so identify the needs of capacity building in the area of energy or agriculture, but it doesn't really specify technical elements of that, because it was also, as our regional director, Ms. Taechan said, it is the first intergovernmentally negotiated document. In that regard, we were more looking at modality rather than technical area. So during this forum, we were able to identify more technical elements of the action program. And then the regional program also suggested to utilize, to work with existing programs, whether bilateral, multilateral programs or international programs or sub-regional programs. So in that regard, we have representatives from different sub-regional and or multi-stakeholder programs here to discuss their ongoing program and then how they they can build a linkage between their activities with the regional action program. In that regard, I'm very pleased to have representatives from diverse multilateral and multi-stakeholder programs. So first, let me invite Mr. Raman, Director General, South Asia Corporate Environment Program. Yesterday, the minister from Sri Lanka, he also highlighted the role of SACAP, which is consisting of 8 member states in South Asia. So let me invite you to speak about your work and its connection with us. Yes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you all. Dear moderator, Mr. Shangmin Nam, Excellencies, invitees, distinguished delegates. I'm truly delighted to have this opportunity to participate in this high-level forum on clean air in Asia and Pacific, organized by the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Mongolia, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAP, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, in collaboration with Northeast Asia Clean Air Partnership, NEACAP, and Acid Deposition Monitoring Network in East Asia, to bring together government, policymakers, stakeholders, and influencers, with focus on operationalizing the Asia-Pacific Regional Action Program on air pollution, through further elaborating areas and modalities on cooperation, strengthening connections among existing sub-regional initiatives, and creating a foundation of knowledge and expertise. I also like to render my heartfelt thanks to ESCAP for inviting SACAP to this important meeting. Let me appreciate and congratulate ESCAP. Actually, ESCAP is supporting inclusive, resilient, and sustainable development in the region by generating action-oriented knowledge and by providing technical assistance to capacity-building services in support of national development objectives, regional agreements, and the implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Dear participants, South Asia Cooperative Environment Program is an intergovernmental organization. It's established in the year 1982 by the government of South Asia to promote and support the protection, management, and enhancement of the environmental issues in the South Asia region. SACAP's member countries are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Over the past decades, South Asian countries have undergone rapid urbanization and industrialization, which dramatically increased emission of air pollutants. Therefore, out of these program areas, SACAP has identified air pollution as one of the important areas to be addressed. South Asia is at the epicenter of air pollution. Ambient air pollution is especially severe in fast-growing urban region. Therefore, is a combination of more people, more motorized vehicle, and construction activities, uncontrolled solid waste management, and use of polluting energy sources both locally and regionally. Those are the burning issues like power plants, transportation, crop burning, industry, big cleans, among many others. This result in elevated pollutant level of human exposure. According to the latest World Air Quality Report 2020, of the top 40 most polluted cities in the world, 37 is in South Asia. Since 2010, around 700 million people, constituting half of the South Asian population, have been impacted by at least one climate-related disaster. The diminished air quality is also expected to directly affect after over 800 million people in this region by 2050. Moreover, air pollution is the third highest risk indicator for premature death in South Asia. Air pollution also contributes to 11% of death, leading to 40 million disability adjustment life years in South Asia. However, air pollution is not a localized nation, it's a transboundary issue that we know. Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of our regional work was recognized by the Governing Council meeting of SACEB through Malé Declaration. There was a air quality management declaration in the year 1988 when the Governing Council made decision how to control and manage this air pollution in South Asia region. So Malé Declaration is a milestone of South Asia regarding air pollution management. I must say the use of GEMS to monitor air pollution in South Asia has significant potential to improve environmental monitoring and decision-making processes. The system can provide real-time monitoring and pollution level, identify pollution hotspots, and provide information on the sources and health impacts of air pollution. Therefore, South Asia Cooperative Environment Program could be a good coordinating station for GEMS during implementing its member countries in Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka in South Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to address this transboundary issue, the region needs to adopt ambitious policies and strengthen planning which will address through common effort between neighboring countries via regional cooperation. With its regional lines, SACEB can act as a central platform in providing a clear direction to our future course of action and contributing to the improvement of their air quality in South Asia region by facilitating exchange of ideas, experience, research, and information on air quality management and strengthening capacity of the member countries in the region to address the emerging challenge of air quality. By harmonizing national air quality management legislation standards, monitoring methods, and data management procedures, which has already discussed in the previous session here. By assessing and proposing policy options for reducing air pollution. By development of research and provide technical assistance to identify and assess sources of air pollution and their impacts on human health and environment. By promoting and disseminating scientific technology and good practice from other regions, enhance environmental sustainability. Finally, I'd like to say, consistent with our Governing Council decision and it's in line with our mandate, SACEB is committed to serve the region to achieve intergovernmental cooperation, addressing the threat of air pollution and its impact on public health. That is why we are eager to partner with international organizations as soon as possible. We are confident that this forum will provide an excellent platform for all experts and policymakers gathered here today to share technical knowledge and exchange ideas and experiences. Finally, I'd like to show you, we have a SACEB Strategy 2030. There is a specific goal on air pollution. We are working with United Nations Environment Program. Regionally, we are working also with ESCAP. So this is not only the mandate of a single nation or any member states. As it's a transboundary issues, we have a common responsibility to come up together. And SAKIP is there to work with all the stakeholders concerned who are thinking about these, policymakers, experts, our civil societies, and all other organizations who are really relevant with this. Thanks for your passion sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman, for highlighting the current challenges, also highlighting the potential connection of this PAPGAP or GEMS with the expected program in South Asia. Next, I'm pleased to invite Dr. Kambold Hassanjab, who is head of ESCAP's sub-regional office for East Asia, East and Northeast Asia. And this is also Secretariat of a sub-regional program, Northeast Asia sub-regional program for environmental cooperation, which is called NEACAP. And then in that capacity, so he will be presenting NEACAP.
Thank you, Sangmin. So my name is Ganbold Basanjav. I'm a head of East and Northeast Asia office of ESCAP based in Korea. So it's a real pleasure for me to share experiences of two very important sub-regional platforms we've been running for the last few decades. One of them is NEW, which is addresses this air pollution specifically. The first is a Northeast Asia sub-regional program for environmental cooperation. So our office in Korea serves as a secretariat to this multilateral sub-regional platform. So this is the only intergovernmental mechanism that addresses the challenges we face in environmental protection across diverse thematic areas, including air pollution. So this Northeast Asian sub-regional program for environmental cooperation, in short we call NEACAP, was established in 1993 by 6 Northeast Asia member states, namely China, DPRK, Mongolia, Japan, Republic of Korea, and the Russian Federation. By the way, so we marks the 30th anniversary of this important mechanism this year. It covers 5 important thematic areas, as you see, biodiversity, nature conservation, desertification, land degradation, low carbon cities, marine protected areas, and as I said, air pollution is one of the core program. So we promote with the support of member countries. With the accelerated interest and support among member countries of NEACAP, we launched in 2018 another important multilateral platform, which is called Northeast Asia Clean Air Partnership. In short, we all call it NEACAP. So deals with issues on air pollution, which is a comprehensive platform on air pollution in Northeast Asia, seeking solutions through science-based policy-oriented cooperation among member countries, institutions, and networks and other stakeholders. So I recognize our long-standing associate Takashi Omura from Japan, who is the member of this the policy, science and policy committee of this important platform. So in this program, so we pursue three main goals. So exchanging of information and experience among member countries, institutions, stakeholders. And then also trying to contribute to the development of relevant and national sub-regional policies. So third important goal of this program, platform, is promoting knowledge on air pollution. So because the member countries of this important platform involves Japan, China, the Republic of Korea, so we try to take advantage of the advanced technologies and extended network, not only among Northeast Asia, of course across Asia and the Pacific and beyond, to share their best practices and knowledge, of course within among the NEACAP member countries first, and then make other stakeholders, countries, institutions, communities beyond Northeast Asia. That's the concept and philosophy. So we try to make use of this, our very unique platform, which is called NEACAP. You see the NEACAP core programs, so coordinating with relevant mechanisms within the sub-region and beyond, proposing potential technical and policy measures, exchange of information and data, so using a lot of different data platforms, so we try to expand the scope of our work through this NEACAP program. Now this is regional action program on air pollution. So how this sub-regional program, NEACAP, would be able to contribute to the region-wide efforts combating air pollution. So with the backdrop of regional cooperation, so we will first certainly will try to consolidate our work, technical work, through our four thematic areas. First, through leveraging the expertise and experiences of member states, so which is very important to contribute to the implementation of the regional action program we've been discussing throughout yesterday and today. So second channel, so how we could fit into this region-wide action program is sharing knowledge and building capacity. And third, we try to capitalize on intergovernmental cooperation mechanisms. Those are already in operation. Those are existing mechanisms. So how we could complement and through this our NEACAP program to benefit from the expertise and knowledge. So we already accumulated in our sub-region to fit into this region-wide program of action. And then last is we try to localize solutions at city level. So the role of cities and communities, so it becomes ever more important to be a part of these solutions, how we go through these or whole processes to achieve the targets. So we we set to achieve the certain the level of reduction in our air pollution and reduce the air pollutants. So Specifically, we need some stepping stone to be an effective mechanism contributing and complementing this region-wide action program. So I would address a few areas, basically three major areas. First, so Northeast Asia has exhibited a decreasing trend of air pollutants over the last decades already. The progress has been made with intensified national actions and enactments. The policy report, now we're working on this policy analysis report with the best practices and knowledges from member countries in Northeast Asia would be an important source of information and reference for other institutions beyond Northeast Asia, as they are based on very accurate, up-to-date statistical information. So this would be, we'll aim with support of our members of Science Policy Committee within this year. And most importantly, so we are facilitating the NEACAP policy dialogues with, of course, member countries in Northeast Asia, China, Japan, Korea, Republic of Korea, and the Russian Federation. But we try to expand the coverage of the dialogues that would cover Southeast Asia, ASEAN countries, South Asia, and up to Pacific countries. So, and third, so we try to bring lessons from NEACAP into the regional dialogue and intergovernmental processes. So, ESCAP, our Asia-Pacific Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, adopted a very important and historical resolution in 2019, 75-4, strengthening regional cooperation to tackle air pollution challenges in Asia and the Pacific. This resolution led to the adoption of the global the resolution at the General Assembly in 2020 addressing air pollution. So, and this is our NEACAP process. So the member states. So our analysis and data. So very much was very much was the pillar towards these important regional and global resolutions by ESCAP and General Assembly of the United Nations on combating air pollution. So, and we will further continue bringing lessons of our NEACAP platform into regional dialogues in intergovernmental process. And the third, we will support local authorities in developing city-level actions, plans, and reducing urban air pollutants. So we have a dedicated sub-program on cities. So just last November in Incheon, Korea, so we hosted the Low Carbon City International Forum. We brought together the governments, institutions, and private sector, civil society, and all stakeholders from Asia and Northeast Asia. So we aim to expand the scope of this city-level action and program beyond our Northeast Asia. And I know, sorry. And then the last, we have quite a strong technical centers in China, Japan, and Korea. So support through these technical centers, so we will be able to undertake more programs and projects, including capacity building. So that's basically, in a nutshell, So how this sub-regional program called NEACAP would be an important contributor and a complementing element to this region-wide action program on air pollution. And thank you very much, and so we'll look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting how NEACAP process, NEACAP's work, as well as experience and expertise from NEACAP member state can be utilized to support the implementation of a regional action program. And our next speaker, Dr. Lim Seok Chang, who is a senior researcher of Environment Satellite Center of NIER.
May I have my presentations? Thank you, moderator. I come from National Institute of Environmental Research under Ministry of Environment. I'm here to introduce newborn network, which is called as Pandora Asia Network. I think today is the official birthday of Pandora Asia Network. I believe it will grow up doing good for Asia air quality if you actively participated and support Pandora Asia Network. Before going into introducing Pandora Asia Network, please allow me to introduce you the background of Asia Network. As you know, if you cannot measure, you cannot manage. In other words, we can manage what we are measuring. I think there are three stages of air pollution. First stage is emission-driven pollution. I think it's a linear world. If emission is cut, pollution is reduced. So Korea underwent this first stage at 1980. Every home, solid fuel was used for home cooking and heating, and diesel bus and factory, are not equipped with the digital filter. But this pollution, Polish fuel policy, emission reduction facility solve this pollution. So this figure, time series shows the success of this policy. But now we are facing new pollutions. I think this is emission-driven pollutions. This is non-linear world. For example, if NO2, one of the key pollutants, is reduced, sometimes ozone increase. So we can be lost. So for these pollutions, I think integrated monitoring or assessment approach is needed. This is background of Pandora Asia Network. This is my short thought on how to arrange existing and our new network to solve this second page of air pollution. There is observation-based network and the modeling-based network. If they combine or collaborate each other, I think we can attack second page air pollution. PACAP, Pandora Asia Network, aims to integrate a ground-based instrument, ground-based air quality monitoring network with the satellite. If we combine these two observation platforms, we can get the three-dimensional air pollution information. It is very useful and powerful for policy making and also air quality research. GEMS, you have a lot of heard about the GEMS. I will skip this. Anyway, GEMS can give you air quality, air pollution information on hourly basis over whole East Asia, including 20 countries. As I mentioned, PAN is a newborn, so still is under construction. So organization work is also undergoing. This is not the final organizations. We are working on these organizations now. I would like to propose several partnerships activity can be done using this existing network. First, data sharing and value exchange. Each network produces data, but if data has some value added, it can be used more widely, usefully to other network. I show some example how to make a value added from low observation data. Second one is periodic holistic report of air pollution in Asia. Each network has its own report for the trend and the cause of air pollution. But I think this is based upon measure the data by its network, so it is limited. So also, but I already mentioned, the pollution we are facing is not easy to attack. It needs many data, not only observation data, also modeling work. So if we combine all this that data or modeling output from existing network, we can get a more holistic view of air pollution. Last one is, oh my God, it's not skip. Oh yeah. Last one is the model ability enhancement. Every observation data and the new knowledge is incorporated in the air quality model. Air quality model is a powerful tool for policy development or the early warning through the predictions. So all networks are known to have major air pollution and the stored data. I think that this data is very valuable, useful for air quality model. Yeah. So well capitalized air quality model can be a powerful tool for air pollution control, I think. This is one of the examples how to use partnership among existing network. This is one example. If there is observations from model, but definitely it has bias, has uncertainty. The uncertainty is hard to reduce, but bias can be corrected by the network data. So if we correct model with the existing network data, we can get more reliable predictions. This is one example. The other one is this partnership can be used for the emergency. But this is not skip. Okay, yeah. So this is concept of emergency measure. So we can, the regional background reduction takes long time, but we can handle the emergency high pollution event using the emergency measure. I believe that the existing network can help to provide useful information for each country to attack this emergency measure. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you for this informative and also very concise presentation. Also highlighting, during last 2 days, you have heard about this GEMS several times, including the presentation from NIER president. So now he's highlighting how it can really connect with the regional action program, data sharing with the enhanced quality, and especially proposal for holistic analysis of air pollution situation. I mean, the joint analysis of current status of air pollution in Asia. So utilizing this data as well as data from other networks, including EANET. So we are really hoping to pursue this way. And then enhancing capability of countries for PM and other pollution forecasting. So we look forward to collaborating with this team to launch and operate PAPGAPI. So PAPGAPI is a key program of ESCAP currently that we are working on. And our next speaker will be from Mongolia, DG Surendram. she has been key person for organizing this event. Without her passion and expertise, we wouldn't be able to hold this forum as we have now. Thank you. So,
thank you, Chair. Yeah. Dear and distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, this is my honor to participate in this important event, also make a speech, especially on collaboration for regional air pollution action program implementation. So I would like to discuss about current multilateral cooperation structures in EASCAP sub-regions, especially contribution for the exchange of information regarding the best practices, and also national, regional policy changes, and scientific cooperation and the expertise subject of transboundary air pollution. So methods that make useful contribution to the advancing the focus, exchanging experiences across the sub-regions, and highlight existing commitment of nations to working on air pollution, especially on the parts of current regional action plan. So we know that in the regional action program, the SIC is very much in the principle and the outcome exercises this region, And then so that is including the promoting the science-based policy, establishing often the regional platforms, and promoting the domestic action and regional cooperation, including also identifying the technical, financial sources, and fostering the dialogue and the cooperation. As for the government of Mongolia, is very thankful for the partnering of the country and the governments and EASCAP for advancing this regional and sub-regional efforts. Based on the scientific and based on the evidence, government of Mongolia introduced it and also identified long-term and then mid-term and then short-term strategies and action plans to solve air pollution in Mongolia as well as cities of Mongolia. And then so the scientific and the basis for these policy choices, increasing the foundation for advancement of science is also required. Since in the 2017, the National Committee for Elimination of Environmental Pollution has supported multilateral progresses by making shared policy choices on air pollution reduction measures, such as national level. This in the local efforts support the regional cooperation overall. And then so for this in the poem, the main point is how to develop the air quality in the monitoring system, the data analysis in the regional countries as well as in the sub-regional countries. And the Mongolia is very often the data, those in the platforms from the community side, from the scientific side, also from the government and the agencies in the side. This is very important to control, also the care about the community voices, using the data useful usage. And then so the domestic and the platforms, the world extract air pollution data and health consensus from following the organizations, and then also they have the number of the good exercise in this area. I hope the Ministry of the Health and then so that organization and the speaker can give the definite information about health effects depend on air pollution. And then so additionally, worldwide, especially in Mongolian background, Mongolian the current state case, worldwide in the data may be accessible on this side. And for instance, the statistics from the Global Bank and World Health Organization and also those in the agencies and the data and information is very accessible in Mongolia. In addition, so GEMS, that is enables the real-time monitoring the air pollution levels among the 20 in the countries. That is also one of the important platform for regional countries. So that in the help is countries in the field data, information the gaps in nationwide in the monitoring of air quality, and also improves in the capacity for monitoring and measurement of air pollution, that could be in the assistance to use both national, regional levels. From this slide, we would like to recommend some of the recommendations to this from the participants and high-level delegations. So, first one is opportunities to apply contemporary methods and technological advancement to lessen air pollution in region and sub-regions. It needs to be recognized and accepted in this region. Also, in the region or sub-region, it needs to mobilize funding to promote bilateral and multilateral institutional arrangements, and donors and partners like ADB could step into reduce air pollution. In this area case, so we are hotly discussing about carbon trade related in the mechanism among countries. Although Mongolia is one of the model countries to implement GCM, that is joint integrated mechanism with government of Japan. So we can make the very good achievements or efforts to link the carbon trade mechanism for the fundraising, combating the air pollution in country level as well as regional level. Also, we have the very good experiences for the green finance and the mechanism to solve the air pollution in country level. That is one of the helpful action to regional countries. And then so GEMS, that is used to strengthen existing the platform to institutional capacity, also to provide technical assistance on air quality and management and software air quality assessments. So in that case, we need, not only in the Mongolia, I hope the regional countries need very good capacity building among local operators, professional staffs. The ones that we can expand air quality monitoring stations. However, despite the very good, very professionalized local operator staffs, we can't do anything. This is the one of the point. And then so the next point is, under the regional action program, it will be the best to serve our interest to strengthen the capacity of academic and scientific institutions focused on air pollution, to expand their focus on and also to continue their efforts in Asia-Pacific region. So next slide shows opportunities for promotion of bilateral and regional cooperation. So during those 2 days, we are discussing about number of the good opportunities, while getting the very good and the best practices from different countries, also different international agencies. This is very important step to strengthen our regional cooperation on air pollution. So for Mongolia, first one case, it is important to improve air quality, especially with high concentration of PM 2.5. And then so we need to tackle urgent measures to reduce number of the polluting sources, tackle measures to protect people and communities from pollution of toxic particles. Next in the point case, that we plan take steps to improve the housing heat, electricity system, improving the technical capacity, coal-fired forest plants, and also construction sites, facilities that emit particles in the matter, and ban the cars with high levels of smoke and emit particles. So for this high-level forum, so we organized several pre-events. That is include policy and the dialogue, policy and the discussion between main ministries that are very important for air pollution issue, air pollution policy in Mongolia. During that time, each ministry have number of the good actions, also and define it in some sectoral policy strategy combating the air pollution. Green in the apartment, green in the housing, hybrid in the house, and also in the cars, electric in the cars, extending the stations for electric and the cars, etc. Those the actions we have some of the model and the projects, but we need the more the expanding the action of those the good access-based projects. And then so maybe that kind of the action is one of the good and opportunity to countries, that is included in SCAP and the members. And then so next in the point is we are interested in identifying technical and financial sources and cooperating with neighboring countries and other countries and region for evolving the measures. In this in the point case, I would like to mention about support of government of Korea. From this year, we already started one of the good in the pilot project on expanding the air quality monitoring station in Ulaanbaatar city. From the next year, that in the pilot project will be moving to more the comprehensive in the project in Mongolia. So in this framework of the project, not only in the expanding the air quality monitoring station, that is including scientific and the people sharing the knowledge, also in the developing the evidence-based policy in our country. And then some next in the point case, we are all agree on reducing the air pollution in regional priority, because in the UNESCAP already mentioned 90% of regional population already conducted negative impacts of air pollution. This is very important point. Although in the government of Mongolia initiated that in the air pollution platform with UNESCAP leadership. It needs the cooperative efforts and continued leadership. Once the government of Mongolia, especially Ministry of Environment and Tourism, organized today high-level forum on air pollution. However, countries, especially regional, sub-regional countries, can then take very important the next the high-level forums in own and the countries and share own and the practices, challenges, and other and the efforts to us. And then so the next slide shows that our initiatives on regional cooperation. However, this is sometimes it is a little bit the small things. However, in last November in Bangkok, we already approved Minister on the Declaration on Regional air pollution action program. Anyway, now so we need implementation. We don't need talking, so we need more moving to implementation plan, implementation actions. In that case, so we would like to suggest some specific actions based on our some pilot projects, exercises, which are working with development agencies, sometimes development banks in Mongolia. So one is the regional governments provide subsidies provided for secondary school buses to use clean fuel. And second, the point is regional governments should supply air purifiers to classrooms as well as some social care related in the buildings, also education centers buildings. And the next, the point is regional governments mainly should create areas with high levels of PM 2.5 in the clean zones. That is the one of the good in the action for also our government of Mongolia. Regarding that in the clean zones, we are trying to introduce clean zone in center of the Ulaanbaatar city, especially more the polluted in the area. This is one of the good in the measurement, good in the pilot project in Mongolia. And then so next, and also but not least, regional governments make some measures, which include the restriction on use of all diesel cars and pollutants, and including shortening the working in the hours of facilities, touching the energy, industry, and transport sectors. So many thanks all of the delegation, especially the high level in the delegation. This is a very good opportunity to taken the very good practices from different countries, from Mongolian side, also international side case. You can see our issues, our challenges by own eye, especially in development partners, including the development agencies, development banks, can do something using it at the high level, form the messages and also your practices in Mongolia. Although today in the afternoon we will have two options in the field trip, you can see our practices, how to solve that pollution in some of the sites. So welcome to Mongolia, welcome to our field trip. Thank you very much.
Thank you. While I have a great pleasure to develop a regional program for managing air pollution, I have also great pleasure to manage the time for this session. So for our next two speakers, and we have also interventions from country, so I would like to request to make your presentation as brief as possible. And so considering time, so let us move on to next speaker, Professor Song Chang-gun, and who is the presentation from DG Serenduram. You highlighted also capacity building for academic and research institutions. I believe Professor Song's presentation is directly related to collaboration among academic institutions. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chang-gun Song from UNIST, Korea. I'd like to express sincere thanks to UNEP and the Mongolian government for inviting and giving me opportunity to deliver my presentations on these valuable forums. Today, I like to introduce an example of the international academic activity which can contribute to the regional action plan, I believe. So it is well known that as facing severe air pollution problem followed by the rapid economic growth of three countries of the Korea, Japan, and China in Northeast Asian region. So I have to mention at first the very valuable and the important international cooperation and intergovernmental cooperations which has been introduced since 1990s. For example, EANET and the LTP program and the NEACAP. So, initial stage, it is expected actually this kind of the activity and the programs can contribute to establish the robust international regime and the scheme to tackle the severe air pollution across the Northeast Asian regions under the very strong governmental authority and also the international partnerships. So far, it is quite lots of successful outcomes and accomplishments as actually comes out. Actually, for example, it's actually built scientific and technology capacity by sharing this observational and modeling data. Actually, about the air quality conditions among member countries. Also, it has been developing international collaboration scheme to make the relevance countermeasures for each member countries. Actually, but still, lots of some limitations and some challenges. Actually, there is some challenges. So, for example, difficulty to making mutual agreement. Actually, it is too long. It takes too long to draw some agreement. Actually, so also it is still challenging to draw some public awareness of this academic or research outcomes, actually this is some challenging point. Also, I believe this outstanding output and accomplishment can help draw some attention of the policymakers domestically, but still it is often used to actually become diplomatic issues so easily. So with this regard, we need to consider some kind of the complementary some way in terms of the parallel approach. So we need to much focus on the consensus of the academic community. It is, I think, very important. Is provide a very sound basis of the intergovernmental the negotiation or cooperations. Also, we have to find out timely. It is important. Easy, comprehensive, and effective way to reach common trust among the countries' interest based on scientific knowledge. Also, it is very important to reduce the unnecessary complexity and uncertainty to resolve the functional limitations of this kind of intergovernmental cooperations. So, actually, considering about this kind of functional limitations, China, Korea, Japan, 3 countries, the scientists, the researchers actually gathered and to decide to establish this kind of the academic research program, so-called collaborative research program for better air quality over Northeast Asia, so-called CRP Back 1 programs. This kind of some alternative or some parallel approaches beyond the intergovernmental collaboration. So of course, we have to keep recognition of the importance of synergy or partnership between intergovernmental body and also academic research program. This slide shows some governance and the institutional structure of the CRP Back 1. So leadership actually consists of the representative of the 3 countries. Also, we have 2 working groups. So first one is focusing on observations, and second is modeling and the impact. Also, we made 3 major research themes. So first one is we try to find out observational characteristic in terms of the physical, based on physical and chemical optical measurement. And the second one, as the Dr. Lim Seok-jang already said, that non-linear world we have to consider. So we're focusing on the chemically secondary product. We focus on that kind of through the proper estimation of the emissions and also chemical transport modeling approaches. And the third research theme is about the impact assessment. Actually, it is need to find out some impact of the kind of the air quality problems over these areas on climate and human systems. So also we have been building some the data sharing platforms, web portal, so www.crp-back1.org. These platforms, by using this platform, we can share our data and also research outcomes, also disclosure of our activities. So the past 3 years, we have the first, second, third, this annual meeting, including working group meetings, is held with the format of the online and offline hybrid due to the COVID pandemic. So also we in the first annual meeting as the kickoff meetings, we adopt the concept paper of the establishing this kind of research activities. So hopefully we can contribute the kind of the purpose and the two major objective of regional action plans. So developing partnership activity on the blah blah and enhancing science-based and policy-oriented cooperation. So I believe we can find the opportunity to strengthen connection between existing multilateral cooperation initiatives and this kind of CRP backbone, I think under the umbrella of Regional Action Plan, UNESCAP. So I have to make an acknowledgement to the member of the CRP backbones. Actually, in Korea, professors and doctors, Seoul National University, UNIST, and NIR. In China, you can see the Peking University and the Nanjing University, University of Science Technology China, and also CAS and CMA. In Japan, doctors from ACAP and NIS. That's all. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Professor Song. Really, we look forward to utilizing the outcomes from your collaborative academic research to strengthen our regional cooperation. Particularly, so there are many recommendations to strengthen collaboration among academic and scientific community. So in that regard, your case can be fed into this process. We hope to identify potential areas of collaboration. Thank you. And we have also participants, online participants, Mr. Patrick Buch, Program Office from GIZ. Patrick, are you connected?
Hear me?
Yep.
That's very good. Shall I share my presentation, or are you going to do that?
So you can share the presentation.
Okay, just a moment, please. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Could you, sorry, could you make it as a full screen mode?
I will try. Can you, so it is full screen mode at my end. Can you see it at full screen at your end?
Maybe it would be better. We can share it on screen. So it's a small screen in our side.
Okay.
So could we move it down and we will share ours.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, maybe could you try? Okay, okay. Now it works.
Yes, can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thanks a lot. Great. Distinguished organizers of the Mongolian Ministry of Environment and Tourism, UNESCAP and UNEP, dear participants, a very early good morning from Germany. I am really pleased and honored that I will be able to report about this project we are carrying out at the moment. So I would like to give you a quick overview of what we are planning and what the German ministry is planning in terms of regional approaches to air quality management and climate change in Southeast Asia. Next slide, please. Okay. So there is, I'm talking about a fairly small project. It's a seed-funded project by the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ. It's a study or an expert fund. It is an 8-month project with a budget of around about 500,000 euros. And our political partner is the ASEAN, and the implementing partner is the ASEAN Secretariat and focal points in various ASEAN countries. And we have associated partners, the CCAC, UNESCAP, the Stockholm Environment Institute, universities, NGOs, AIT, so some scientific organizations as well. So, next slide, please. Right. So based on the scientific and political background, sorry, can you go back one, please? Yes, thank you. The German government acknowledged and realized that there is an increasing interest in regional approaches to air quality management in the Southeast Asian region, and there is as well an increasing interest in linking air quality management and climate change mitigation. So, especially short-lived climate pollutants are going to be tackled, and there is the wish in the region to do that in a joint fashion. There is as well there are multiple shared benefits of tackling short-lived climate pollutants and CO2 in a shared fashion, which is really what this project is going to focus on. There is as well an interest in integrating short-lived climate pollutants into NDC targets. So basically looking for policies that are not only going to diminish or reduce CO2 emissions, but as well emissions of short-lived climate pollutants like methane, ozone, and particulate matter. And the idea is that there have been rather a set of best practices used in Asia by GIZ projects. Some of them were actually presented by my colleague Dunja Hoffmann yesterday, but as well by other organizations in the region. And we would like to actually scale up these best practices or help to scale up these best practices in the region. And there is as well a new momentum for this kind of regional approach, because there are as well some regional and global initiatives that actually have created this additional momentum now, like for example the Global Methane Pledge, which is one of the reasons, for example, why the Mali Declaration is seeing some more activity again, and we would like to contribute to this. Next slide, please. Right, and there are, let's say, some overarching mid-term aims as well of the project, because this project I'm presenting here at the moment is just, like I said, a seed-funded project to prepare a larger proposal for a large-scale project for the development and implementation of a regional approach to air quality management and climate change mitigation in Southeast Asia. And I say Southeast Asia, but there is as well the opportunity to reach out to South Asia, for example, the Mali Declaration, or as well as Central Asia. And this is the basis for a medium-term commitment by the German government, who has shown some interest in this topic, as I mentioned before. And we would like to actually assess within this short 18-month project, the needs with respect to the support of existing political structures and initiatives on air quality improvement, capacity development in political decision makers, this is the support for regional knowledge networks, and the development of air awareness raising formats. Next slide, please. We've started doing this, and we, by the rather close relationship with the ASEAN Secretariat, we have actually received a request for the large-scale follow-up project. In other words, we are now getting the information as well about where support is needed, and there are four different pillars of that support. One is really SLCP stock taking in Southeast Asia, in the ASEAN region, so to identify and prioritize key short-lived climate pollutants, key sectors and key geographic extents, so hotspots. Then to assess current gaps and opportunities in reference to practices and technologies that are already available, and approaches of ASEAN in addressing these short-lived climate pollutants as identified in the SLCP stocktaking. The third one is to develop practical guidelines for addressing short-lived climate pollutants in the region. And then the fourth one, to capacity build for using these guidelines and to look as well into new awareness raising formats. Next slide, please. And I would like to invite actually the members and the participants in this room to actually join us in this endeavor. We are going to have another year or so to actually now prepare a consortium for the larger proposal. And we are very happy to invite whoever is interested in joining the consortium for writing that large-scale proposal, which will hopefully then lead to a large-scale project funded by the German government from roughly 2024 onwards. And we see this as an active contribution to the wrap-up program as well, and we would like to as well link the network to some global movements like the Global Methane Pledge, but as well FECAP. We heard about FECAP, for example, yesterday. And let me just finish by saying thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this, and we are happy to receive any questions. Many thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bucher, for offering this opportunity for joining and developing project focusing on short-lived climate pollutants. Indeed, SLCP is one of a target that the Regional Action Program identified. So the Regional Action Plan is looking at not only air pollution, but it's a co-benefit with the greenhouse gas emissions. So we wish to utilize this opportunity to work with the GIZ to develop a project that directly support implementing Regional Action Program. And now we have two interventions, one from Bangladesh, one from NASA, from United States. So first, let me invite Mr. Jiaul Hake, sorry about my pronunciation, and Director of Dhaka Region, Department of Environment. Mr. Jiaul, are you? Oh, sorry, misunderstood. Yes, please. And then could you also check whether the colleague from NASA is also connected? So after him, so we will invite him. Yes, please.
Thank you, Sang-min, and Excellencies, colleagues and distinguished participants. Since Bangladesh is taking the floor for the first time, please allow me to convey our sincere thanks and gratitude to the government of Mongolia, UNEP, and UNESCAP for organizing this very successful event, high-level forum on air pollution, and as well as for inviting Bangladesh in this process. And we wish to be active member in the implementation of RAPAP as we move along the process in the future. And in fact, in my country, Bangladesh, our air pollution has been increased for manifold with the growing economic activities as well as the country's efforts towards achieving the GDP growth, annual GDP growth rate over 6% during the last decade. And particularly the air pollution situation get aggravated during dry season, particularly from October to March. And the pollution sources mostly are from the local sources as well as transboundary sources. And one estimate we have found from the World Bank study that the transboundary air pollution, relative contribution of the transboundary air pollution is around 30 to 35%. So we understand that we have to address the air pollution at national level, as well as we have to have the regional collaboration among the countries, among the neighboring countries particularly. And in fact, when we talk about addressing the air pollution at national level, country level, we feel that as we have been listening from the presentations, that there are key areas that we have to actually focus on, particularly on establishing a very robust air quality monitoring system at national level. And in Bangladesh, with the support of World Bank, we have established 31 continuous air monitoring stations across the country. They are connected to the central server. Now we are trying to provide the public to make this data public at real-time basis. So now we have to make this happen for public disclosure at real-time basis, including air quality index. And in doing so, I have learned from the speakers, previous speakers, that now it is high time to integrate the ground level air monitoring systems with the satellite monitoring systems. And we have heard from previous speakers about the James monitoring station, as well as, you know, the president of NIA has rightfully pointed out some very useful and effective tools for the integration of satellite monitoring systems with the ground monitoring systems. And in that case, the speakers also pointed out that we have to maintain the generation of high quality data. So in doing so, we have to maintain the regular calibration as well as the operation and maintenance. So at local level, at national level, it is our responsibility on our shoulder to maintain this regular operation and maintenance of this high precision equipments, as well as other related instruments that we will be using at the country level. And in Bangladesh, we have last year we have enacted a law. We call it Air Pollution Control Rules 2022, and in the rules, apart from several very important provisions that we have incorporated in the rules, one important tool is that the Department of Environment has to develop a national air quality management plan, and there is a specific time frame to develop this national air quality management plan. And in that case, now the Bangladesh is looking forward to establishing a good relationship with other regional countries, member countries, who have been very successful in addressing air pollution and reducing the air pollution to a greater extent. So we are looking forward towards the countries like South Korea, Republic of Korea, China, Japan, and other member countries who are very effective in this area and who have done a great job in abating the air pollution to a considerable extent. And I feel that since Bangladesh is trying to address this severe air pollution in dry season, so we want to see the very good collaborative actions among and between the member countries by sharing their knowledge, expertise, as well as the technologies that we are seeking for. And in fact, the technology is very important in this area of addressing air pollution. So I hope that since I have said that we want to be an active member in implementation of RAPAP, so we want to see that the coming days there will be a very tangible outcome out of the process that we will be working together in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your point on national monitoring and public disclose, and also combining national data with the GEMS data, and also your expectation on international collaboration in connection with your new national air quality management plan. Thank you. So we have actually one more. So we have a representative from Indonesia and then NASA. But let me invite representative from NASA. Barry Letter.
Yes, thank you everyone. I would like to congratulate the government of Mongolia, the UNESCAP, and the distinguished scientists and representatives involved for such a successful air quality workshop. It is a privilege to talk with you all today. I have really enjoyed the presentations over the past 2 days. It is exciting to see all the interest in working together to improve air quality and reduce greenhouse gas emissions in Asia. The United States government and NASA are enthusiastic partners to the Pandora Asia Network and the GEMS satellite. In addition, NASA continues to actively pursue additional partnerships in Asia by offering resources such as research aircraft flights to better integrate Asian air quality modeling with ground, airborne, and satellite-based observations to enable improved air quality policy decisions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, not only for your very concise intervention, but offering additional partnership for modeling and monitoring. We look forward to receive your plan that we can, other Asian countries can collaborate with you. So we look forward to receiving further information. Thank you. And we have also representative from Indonesia.
Thank you, moderator, for the opportunity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge the importance to have collaboration on air quality management. Therefore, we can take action in controlling air pollution. We have made progress in first installment of monitoring station, including PM 2.5 in 56 cities, and integration of additional 17 stations from various institutions to Ministry of Environment and Forestry Network. The second, we have strengthened ambient air quality standard in 2021. The third, law enforcement for forest fire. Fourth, emission control by proper program and installation of continuous emission monitoring system or CHEMS for industrial sources, which is integrated to government data system, and also the enforcement of Euro 4 for motor vehicles since 2018. In the rapid development of technology of air quality monitoring system, I would like to highlight the importance of having a same standard of the instruments. The standard including calibration, audit, methodology of monitoring equipment, and their certifications. This is important to ensure that the data produced are reliable and comparable with each other. We would like to give suggestions as follows. First, to provide technical cooperations for research, training, and regional dialogues in pollutant analysis and expertise, in laboratory analysis of particulates and rainwater chemical composition, evaluation and validation of low-cost sensor, especially for fine aerosols and short-lived climate pollutant (SLCP), including their precursor. The second, to increase and make regular communication, dialogue, forum with expertise from academic and scientific institutions to encourage data, reports, method, and knowledge sharing. The third, to foster partnership that involves active participation of national and international partners from universities and research institutions to support cooperation in developing a standardized quality monitoring system. The fast-growing industry of sensor technology needs collaboration in the development among Asia-Pacific countries to create innovation in each country. Therefore, once again, I would like to encourage members to use this forum as an opportunity to optimize its national resources for mutual collaboration, to leverage perception not only for air quality standard, but also the quality of data. Thank you.
Thank you for the proposal recommendation on technical cooperation and regular communication and dialogue and collaboration involving university research institutions related to improving quality of air pollution monitoring, air quality data. So I would like to request you to also share your speech text so that you can also reflect that. Distinguished participants, sorry, I was not really able to manage the time for this session, but I hope we can manage air quality better. And so with this, we are concluding all the substantive sessions. And ESCAP and UNEP, we will incorporate all the ideas you proposed and shared, and then develop detailed meeting forum report and then share with you. With that, I appreciate all the panelists and also representatives for their very thoughtful information. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for the closing ceremony, and I'd like to invite back to the conference hall all the participants of this forum. First of all, on behalf of all the participants, I'd like to express our deepest gratitude to all 31 organizations that made this high-level clean air forum possible. You can see some of their logos here back at the screen. And let me again introduce all the general organizers of this event. Ministry of Environment and Tourism, Mongolia. United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. United Nations Environment Program. In collaboration with Northeast Asia Clean Air Partnership and Acid Deposition Monitoring Network in East Asia. Also, our deepest gratitude to all the embassies, international organizations, government organizations, NGOs, and private companies, and every individuals that made this event possible and cooperated in organizing this big and meaningful forum. Let's all give them a big round of applause. For the closing remarks, I'd like to invite to the stage His Excellency Mr. Bохирдлын Батулдзи, Minister of Environment and Tourism, Mongolia. Please welcome.
Агаарын бохирдлын эсрэг Аз Номхон ДАЛАЙН дээд түвшний чуулга уулзалт 2 өдрийн турш амжилттай чуулж өнөөдөр өндөрлөж байна. Чуулганы үйл ажиллагаанд оролцсон эрхэм хүндэт нэгдсэн үндэсний байгууллагын Аз Номхон ДАЛАЙН эдийн засаг нийгмийн комиссийн гүйцэтгэх нарийн бичгийн дарга Армида Элижабана, Монгол Улсын ерөнхийлөгч, Монгол Улсын ерөнхий сайд, Улсын хурлын гишүүд, байнгын хорооны дарга, засгийн газрын гишүүд, зочид төлөөлөгч та бүхэндээ чин сэтгэлээсээ гүнээ талархал илэрхийлж байна. Мөн салбар хуралдааныг удирдан чиглүүлсэн хадагтай Дэчин Цэрэн, хадагтай Карма, хадагтай Мартина Отто, ноён Ким Донг Жин, ноён Нам Сан Мин болон сонирхолтой илтгэл мэдээлэл хэлцүүлсэн илтгэгч нартаа туйлаас их талархаж байгааг илэрхийлэхийг хүсэж байна. Чуулганы хуралдаанаар улс орнууд эрчим хүчний салбараас агаарын чанарт үзүүлэх нөлөөллийн үнэлгээний загвар боловсруулсан, олон улсын судалгааны хамтарсан баг сүлжээ байгуулсан, Geostation хиймэл дагуул ашиглан агаарын бохирдлын тооцоо судалгааг наривчлан гаргаж чаддаг болсон. Зүүн Азийн 13 орныг Пандорагийн нэгдсэн сүлжээнд холбон мэдээлэл солилцож байгаа. Хөх тэнгэр санаачлаг дэвшүүлж шинжлэх ухааны хүрээнд шин санаачлаг дэмжих чиглэлээр тодорхой ажлуудыг хийсэн талаар улс орнуудын харилцсан сайн туршлагыг хуваалцлаа. Агаарын чанарын хяналт мониторингийг сайжруулахад Япон улс, бүгд найрамдах Солонгос улс, бүгд найрамдах Хятад ард улс улсын шилдэг туршлагыг улс орнуудад түгээх, хил дамсан агаарын бохирдлоос хохирол амсаж байгаа хотуудад анхаарах, өнгөрсөн хугацаанд улс орон бүр тус тусдаа хийж ирсэн судалгааг цаашид хамтарсан байдлаар нэгтгэж хийх, Аз Европыг холбосон хамтын ажиллагааны бүтцийг бий болгох, агаарын бохирдлын асуудлаа шийдвэрлсэн улс орнуудтай хамтран дараагийн формыг зохион байгуулах зэрэг олон чухал санаачлаг уриалгыг гаргаж байгаад туйлын талархалтай байна. Чуулганы арга хэмжээ амжилттай болж олон санаачлагууд гарлаа. Хамгийн гол нь олон улсын холбогдох байгууллагын удирдлага экспертүүд өөрсдийн зүгээс үнэтэй санал зөвлөмжөө өгч ойрын хугацаанд бүс нутгийн хамтын ажиллагааг хэлэх боломжуудыг бий болгодог гэж дүгнэж байна. Энэхүү чуулга уулзалтын онцлог нь 2022 онд болсон байгаль орчин хөгжлийн хорооны 7 дугаар чуулганаар баталсан агаарын бохирдлын эсрэг бүс нутгийн үйл ажиллагааны хөтөлбөрийг хэрэгжүүлэх тогтмолжуулах эхлэлийг тавьснараа ач холбогдолтой боллоо. Цаашид бүс нутгийн түвшинд улам илүү үр дүнтэй хамтын ажиллагааг өрнүүлж, ногоон санхүүжилтийн санг байгуулж, хамтарсан төсөл хөтөлбөрүүдийг хэрэгжүүлнэ гэдэгт итгэж байна. Чуулга уулзалтыг Монгол Улсын нийслэл Улаанбаатар хотод амжилттай зохион байгуулахад хамтран оролцсон Нэгдсэн үндэсний байгууллагын Аз Номхон далай, Эдийн засаг нийгмийн комисс, олон улсын байгууллагууд, төсөл хөтөлбөрүүд, сайн дурын хүүхдүүд болон байгаль орчин ажуулчлалын яамны хамт олон та бүхэндээ дахин талархал илэрхийлж байна. Агаарын бохирдлын эсрэг Аз Номхон далайн дээд түвшний чуулга уулзалт амжилттай болж хаасныг мэдэгдэе. Та бүхэнд дахин талархал илэрхийлье. Баярлалаа.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Decheng Tsering, Regional Director, United Nations Environment Program, ROPE. Please welcome.
Your Excellency, Mr. Bart Erden Bartolzi, Minister of Environment and Tourism, Government of Mongolia. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. Let me begin by thanking our host, the Government of Mongolia, for the excellent arrangements and very warm hospitality. I wish to extend appreciation to the co-organizers of the High-Level Forum on Clean Air, the UN Economic Social Commission for Asia Pacific, and the Ministry of Environment and Tourism of Mongolia, and all our partners. During this meeting, we laid the foundation of how to operationalize the Regional Action Program on Air Pollution to respond to both transboundary challenges, but also national challenges posed by air pollution in our region. The 7th session of the Committee on Environment and Development last year delivered a really important milestone, and we talked about how this was the first regional initiative on air pollution. This action program can build momentum for stronger science-based, policy-oriented cooperation to improve quality management. And we talked about air quality standards, open data sharing, exchanging best practices, and capacity building. And we've had together with us, we've had governments, we've had multilateral agencies, we've had international civil society organizations, we've had academia, but we've also had citizen movement, we've had cities, and for us to take this issue forward, it's going to need all of us. The discussions over the last 2 days were rich. Some of the key findings was that air quality standards embedded in legislation are going to be foundational for robust national air governance. WHO's air quality guidelines does provide a scientific and an authoritative starting point, but it was also clear that governments should consider their own national circumstances. But we need regional level cooperation for well-designed control of transboundary air pollution, and air quality standards must be embedded within a holistic governance framework. We talked about integrated assessments as being critical to identify robust, cost-effective mitigation measures addressing high-impact sectors. We looked at energy, transport, buildings, agriculture, and industry, and we shared a lot of very good practices. We talked about air quality data monitoring and science-based approaches as critical to inform policy action. And here I think this is critical because when I stepped out of the room, I was asked, why do you need so much investments when you're not taking action on addressing air pollution? And we had a really good example where we talked about when there was heavy pollution episodes, there was targeted, quick response action. So I think the link between science to policy and action is important. There's been a wealth of best practices and solutions on clean air that we've heard over the last few days. We've heard about partnerships, multilateral activities, research platforms. We've talked about capacity building action across sub-regions. And we've talked about including key stakeholders, national, local governments, private entities, non-governmental organizations, and we've talked about proposed working groups on air quality data and standards that will play an important role in facilitating technical cooperation between countries. Ladies and gentlemen, we also heard a reiteration of support that was offered. You know, the Asia-Pacific Clean Air Partnership, Acid Deposition Monitoring Network, the Climate Clean Air Coalition, Asia-Pacific Regional Forum on Environment and Health had offers. The Northeast Asia Clean Air Partnership offered to facilitate knowledge exchange, sharing of best practices, bringing lessons into regional dialogue and intergovernmental process. From the United States, from the government, we heard that building on the momentum of the Regional Action Program, they hope to advance further at the UN Environment Assembly 6, a resolution calling for the establishment of regional frameworks for air quality management. The Pandora Network offered support for data sharing and value exchange through periodic holistic analysis report for air pollution and support for capacity building for model predictability. Ladies and gentlemen, I name some of the offers because, you know, when we get together and we're all like-minded, we're all working in the same area, it's a very comfortable area for us to exchange views, but we have to take this forward. So there's been really encouraging movement, and when I look at the environmental issues, there's been, you know, climate change, there's been action, on nature there's been action, but over the last few months there's been a lot of really positive action on pollution. The international community took an important step on addressing plastic pollution at the first Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee meeting on developing a global agreement to end plastic pollution. Last month, the ad hoc open-ended working group on a science policy panel for chemicals, waste and pollution advanced their work towards developing a science policy panel to contribute to sound chemicals and waste management, pollution prevention. We hope that this panel will advance the work on air quality management. The Regional Action Program for Air Pollution can help supercharge our collective efforts to address the shared threat we face of air pollution. We have many key components to bring the action program to life. I look forward to working with you all to support its implementation. I thank you and I wish you safe travels. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dichentering. I would like to ask you to remain on the stage, please. Now we're starting an award ceremony to give certificates to our volunteers. For this ceremony, I'd like to invite to the stage again His Excellency Mr. Bохирдлын Батулти, Minister of Environment and Tourism. Let me read the certificate to everyone. Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is hereby presented to the name of the participant for your outstanding dedication and commitment to Asia-Pacific Regional Action Program on Air Pollution and the High-Level Forum on Clean Air, March 2 to 3rd, 2023, Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Thank you for invaluable contributions to improve the air we share and create a better future for people and the planet. Ms. Armida Ali Shabana, Executive Secretary, United Nations, EASCAP. Ms. Dichentering, Regional Director and Representative for Asia and the Pacific, United Nations Environment Program. Mr. Bохирдлын Батулти, Minister of Environment and Tourism of Mongolia. Please welcome to the stage Манчир Сухатар, Тэргүүн Баяр Ширвжамц. Тамир Нэргүй Баатар, Чин зориг алтан сүх. Congratulations. Удвал Мөнхбаатар, Дүлгөөн Нямсамбуу. Congratulations. Хүчилбаатар Чимбаяр, Номхон дээр Төмөрөйн. Congratulations. Тэмүүгэ Гамбат, Мөнхөргөл, Отгонбаяр. Thank you so much. Your Excellency, Mr. Bhatirdan Batulti and Ms. Lichintsering, thank you so much, and we are inviting you back to your seats. And thank you again to all Excellencies, honorable guests, and distinguished delegates. I hope you all had a highly inspiring and highly productive days. Hope to see you again very soon in Mongolia. After closing ceremony, we would have a lunch just here. And wish you all a safe trip and wish you all prosperity and the best of the best. Thank you so much again for being here. Thank you, goodbye, and good luck.
The high-level forum on clean air will be organized by the Ministry of Environment and Tourism of Mongolia, the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, and the United Nations Environment Program on March 2nd and 3rd, 2023 in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. The forum will be attended with high-level representatives of 53 countries that are members of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, and more than 200 representatives of international research and development organizations. During the forum, events and discussions will be held to clarify the mechanism of actions on regional air pollution issues, share the best practices, introduce methodologies for capacity building, introduce advanced technologies, and strengthen cooperation. This forum is one of the activities in preparation for the 17th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Desertification, COP17, which will be held in Mongolia in 2026. Clean Air High Level Forum 2023 Ulaanbaatar.